home is also going to enjoy the match. So we'll be sending it over to our resident commentators of the Good Studio. Is of course going to be the mouthy Wepas and the beautiful, newly made up and slept a full night Draskell.
Well, we're here at the main desk, commentator desk. Of course, thank you, James, for that wonderful transition. And yes, I did get a full night's sleep, so thank you for that. But it's going to be fnatic taking on No Tidehunter here in the finals. Both teams actually managed to go 2-0 in the semis against their respective opponents, and I think it's going to be a really good best of three.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. This is probably going to be one of the most even games so far. Both of the teams have been playing really convincingly and not really having that much of a trouble getting through to the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to pull out and hope for a full best of three finally.
Yeah, I think, has any best of three gone the distance? I don't think so, because we only had two. Both semis, fnatic 2-0'd their opponents, and then Pulse got 0-2'd as well. So yeah, I guess that means we could potentially be seeing the first game in this entire tournament go for a best of three, and I think that would be pretty fitting, honestly, because looking at the group stages, we talked about it on the first day of the THOR Open. We're like, this is probably going to be the matchup at the very end, especially once you saw the groups. Pulse had a possibility to upset. They didn't end up making it that far. And then the other groups, basically 4FC, made it out with no Tidehunter, but unfortunately they weren't able to get here either. So everything said and done, we are still waiting for the lobby to be hosted up because you guys just saw the interview and the players are making their way back to their setup now. So everything else throughout the tournament has been pretty expected, I would say. Not really much of a shock anywhere.
No, not really. Like you said, you pretty much knew who would move out of the groups and who would actually be in the grand finals. And like you said, we thought that Pulse maybe could do an upset, or maybe even 4FC that played really, really well. But yeah, people kind of expected this finals from the start.
Well, we'll see what happens. Again, we are still waiting for the lobby to be hosted here in just a couple of seconds, hopefully. And once we get that, we'll be bringing the game your guys' way. And we're going to be showing you guys fnatic's team here in just a couple of seconds. So introduce the players really fast. On the far left, we're going to have Arrow, known as the resident carry player of fnatic. Then you're going to have No Tail, who typically plays support nowadays. Interesting enough, he used to play mid before when he played Han, but now ever since the transition, obviously Hani most of the time is going to be going mid for them. He's going to be the next player for fnatic. Then you're going to have Trixie, who is typically the offlaner for the team. And then finally Fly, who plays secondary support, or most of the time a support role along with No Tail. And then, of course, we're going to be introducing their opponents, No Tidehunter, who just got done earlier today in the semifinals, going 2-0 against Pulse. And then we're going to have Loda, who is their carry player. S4 was just being talked up by Loda himself in that interview as their mid. Eternal Envy, the shot caller most of the time drafter as well, and support player. Admiral Bulldog as their resident offlaner, and then Ake as their secondary support. So this matchup, I mean, it's going to be pretty dynamic. Both of these teams have a lot of versatility. We saw actually during the players area when they were doing a couple of pub games while we were still setting up that they were actually running heroes that they do a lot. Envy likes to practice his support heroes doing his pulling and stuff. That's what they were saying during the interview. And then you also had, I think it was S4 playing on Tinker, so maybe we could be seeing some Tinker play here in the finals.
Yeah, I would like to see some Tinker play actually. We've seen one game where Hani played Tinker. But other than that, we haven't really seen that hero that often in the meta right now. It's more of tri-laning against each other. Tinker works in a tri-lane, though, as a farming role in a defensive tri-lane, but you don't really see it that often. But it would really be really interesting to see it, and maybe even see, like they were talking about, see Admiral Bulldog's famous Sailor Bear. Would be really cool as well.
It is always a possibility, but again, the lobby is taking a little while to be hosted here, and hopefully we can get the game coming your guys' way in a couple of minutes. But as it stands right now, I got to say, I'm really looking forward to this. You have No Tidehunter, who's a relatively new team, and they're really, really just making their presence be felt in the competitive scene. So far, they've taken DreamHack Winter. They've been performing here great at the THOR Open. You can see No Tail here actually dancing a little bit, so he's excited for the finals. And I really think that this is probably going to go to a best of three. A little bit of accusation during the interview that fnatic ends up stealing some strats back and forth. You know, it was kind of cute, but overall, yeah, sorry guys, I'm having some headset problems over here. Just really does not want to seem to stay on, so I have to constantly have one hand on my ear, but we'll probably get it fixed before the game starts anyway. But you know what, why don't we actually take a little bit of a break here for a second so I can actually get this sorted out and hopefully get the game hosted, because I actually have no idea why it hasn't been hosted just yet.
I think it's up already.
Oh, is it up already?
Yeah. So
Oh.
it's actually we're only waiting on you right now.
Oh, okay, cool. But I can't actually get the password, so.
No, I could write it to you, but you can't. Well,
Yeah, I can't
whoops.
actually see
And
it.
then I invite you to a party instead. Oh, well.
All right, it works out. We're getting everything sorted out here, so sorry about this, guys. A little bit of a delay. And as soon as I can see the password here, all right, and let's see. Haha, there we go. Alrighty, so we are inside of the game, and we should be able to start the game here in just a couple of seconds. It's going to be No Tidehunter versus fnatic here for your THOR Open Finals, and the game should be starting any second, hopefully.
Yep. And like you were saying, hopefully push it to a best of 3, because we've only seen 2-0 games or quite convincingly games where one team really had the lead all the time. No Tidehunter, I believe, haven't lost a single game yet. Same with fnatic. Both of them are 5-0 right now. So it would be really cool to see a full best of 3 and hopefully some cool strats as well or some tricks going.
Yeah, it's not really too much of a shock either way, and James
I
is...
you got headset problems. Who is it? Is it you?
Yeah, you can see my hand. I'm just like permanently...
Okay, well, your hair.
The lack of hair that I have is pretty much...
Well,
All right,
what are we
fantastic. What are we doing? I don't know what we're doing, honestly. Look, it's going to fall out.
No.
It's actually like the opposite of fine right now. All right, well, James is helping me with my headset. We're just waiting on the game to get started. It looks like both teams are going to be ready here in just a couple of seconds. I'm not actually sure who has host, but thank you, James. You're a lifesaver, a gentleman, and a scholar. So now that that's sorted out, hopefully we can just get right into the game. We'll see if the players are ready really fast. Let's see. But fnatic versus No Tidehunter, probably going to be going to a best of 3. I think we've talked about that. And I don't know if Eternal Envy's actually had a chance to do any research on fnatic. He was sitting behind them, I think earlier today is what he said when we went out to lunch, and that they really are trying to just get everything down that they possibly can against a team, especially like that, because even Envy said himself that he feels that fnatic's the only threat really in this tournament who could potentially take games off of them. So I think it's just basically more respect than anything else, and to say, you know what, we are going to go ahead and study. And we don't know actually who has lobby hosts. People in the lobby are just like, yeah, we don't really know who has hosts, but we're just waiting for somebody to figure out who it is so we can actually get this final started. So things off to a little bit of a rocky start, but I'm sure once things get rolling, it'll be just fine. And while we have a chance, because we're still before the finals actually start, make sure you guys go to facebook.com/THOR Open. Make sure you follow them because they've done a fantastic job with the production so far. And of course, thanks to all the guys in the background, including the ones, especially James, who, you know, helps me fix my headset, even though it's not totally fixed just yet. But all things aside, it's been a pretty good experience so far. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a good tournament. Quite sad that we've seen a lot of one-sided games. Would have been a bit more interesting if we might have seen an upset, but it's a small tournament, so you can't really hope for too much when you have big names like No Tidehunter and fnatic being here. But overall, it's been a really good tournament, and yeah, like we've said before, just hope we get a good best-of-3 finals.
Well, we will find out here. Still trying to figure out in the lobby who actually has hosts because there are no admins inside the game. So we're basically just kind of chilling out. And it looks like the game finally has started. So we'll be bringing you guys a game, assuming my Dota hasn't just crashed. That would be really unfortunate. So let's see.
I think it did.
Yeah, I think my computer actually just froze. So let me see if I can actually hear James laughing from the other room as we are continuing to have some technical difficulties right here, but I'll see if I can get this sorted out in a timely fashion so we can bring you guys the finals. But we wouldn't have it any other way here at the THOR Open because it would just be too easy if everything went off without a hitch. So
yeah, but like you were talking about before, with Envy saying fnatic probably being the biggest threat in this tournament, we actually talked a bit when we were walking down to getting some lunch that he said that they play a really similar style, and Loda said that they've been stealing a few strats from them and a bit of tactics and stuff. And it's going to be really interesting to see who can execute it the best then, who actually knows that strategy the best, and hopefully we can see some fun picks coming out of No Tidehunter's side. And we see you actually connecting into the game, which is a lifesaver.
High five. I'm so stoked that we actually got inside of the game. So we're at picks now. We'll finally be able to get inside the game. It's No Tidehunter taking on fnatic for the grand finals here at the THOR Open. We'll go ahead and get inside the game for you guys so we can go over the bans and picks so far. And No Tidehunter already banning out a CK. That's a hero that I believe fnatic has used quite often this tournament so far, especially in the group stages and, of course, the semifinals as well.
Yeah, we've seen fnatic picking up the CK Jakiro as their first 2 heroes if they don't have the first pick themselves. So No Tidehunter banning that out, and it leaves so many heroes open, especially when we see the Enigma as the second ban as well. We've seen fnatic using that a lot as well before this tournament. I don't think we've seen it in this tournament exactly, but they like that Enigma. But this opens up so much for No Tidehunter. They can go for a bounty hunter if it's not gonna get banned out. They can go for a TA, they can go for a Darkseer. They can even get Bulldog Scylla if they want that, if fnatic doesn't ban it out right now. A Batrider. There's so many heroes that are being left out now with these kind of unconventional bans where you don't really see CK and Enigma being banned in the first phase.
Well, Bounty Hunter and Batrider are the 2 specifically that you really don't see too often. Bounty Hunter has made a couple appearances in the tournament so far, but I don't actually think Batrider has made it into a single game, at the very least, that we've casted. So last ban here going to fnatic, going to find out what they're going to take out. And this is a situation where you have to decide what you're comfortable playing against. Do you want to give the Bounty Hunter to Admiral Bulldog? He's had pretty good success with it so far in this tournament. Do you want to give away things like Scylla, who we know that fnatic and Tidehunter have both ran in this tournament as well? So there's a lot of options for both teams. And like you were saying, not banning out those high priority heroes, that can make the game a lot more interesting because you have to give away something that's good to get something good, as some teams would say.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just waiting for the last ban out now. It's going to be a Darkseer, so this opens up a lot for, like we've said, the Bounty Hunter, the Batrider. Undying is going to be the first pick. Not a big surprise there. And we actually missed to talk about is one of Eternal Emmy's favorite hero. He claims that it's most likely his best hero right now. And fnatic's going to respond by picking up the Batrider and the Bounty Hunter, which is a good ganking combo. Once you get that Blink Dagger up on the Bounty, or on the Batrider, you can just roam around with the Bounty Hunter being level 6 and then lassoing people up and getting easy kills, easy track kills.
Well, Batrider Bounty is pretty much the strongest you can imagine, basically, in terms of aggressive mid-game. Bounty Hunter gets a fast blink, pulls people out of team fights. You have track during the mid-game as well, and a very, very strong offlaner in itself. And it looks like No Tidehunter's response is going to be that Lone Druid, and they're going to pick up a Wisp too. So I have the feeling that this Undying is going to be the make of a tri-lane with that Wisp. Add one more to it, and you'll be able to have a very strong tri-lane indeed. But the question is it going to be aggressive? Are they going to put a Bulldog on Lone Druid and put him in the safe lane, or are they going to make him go to the off lane? Right now, it's really too hard to say because we don't know what fnatic's going to be doing for their lanes, but they do still have one more hero they're going to be picking before the second ban phase comes out. And since they already have a mid themselves and the Batrider and an off laner, I have a feeling we could potentially be seeing some kind of a carry here or possibly a support. Jakiro is still in the pool, as is Rubik.
It's going to be really interesting to see where you want to send that Lone Druid. Like you said, you can send it into the off lane or you can send it into the safe lane as well. If the Bounty Hunter goes to the off lane for fnatic, having the Syllabare in the safe lane for No Tidehunter could be really good. Maybe getting a fast Orb of Venom, just harassing the Bounty Hunter out of the lane. If he gets lucky and tangled, he can even get a kill from level 3 or 4 and up. So he got to take it really easy there. And Sven is going to be the last pickup for fnatic, so they got a hard carry there. They got mid if they want to go with the Batrider mid. If they don't want to, they could even throw in jungle if they want that. Not as effective, but throwing the Batrider mid could be really good. And then they have the Bounty Hunter, most likely going to go off lane. And Sven, like I said, is going to be a hard carry for him.
Well, fnatic has actually run support Sven in the past. Important to keep that in mind. Not saying that they will this game, but they definitely have it in their arsenal. And these bans for the second ban phase have gone by incredibly fast, as we're going to see Nyx, Brewmaster, and Jakiro all taken out by No Tidehunter, and then Tiny, Void, and TA respectively taken out for fnatic. So taking out a mid, 2 of the hard carries. No Tidehunter obviously ran a Tiny earlier in this tournament, and Loda with Empower was probably one of the scariest things I think I've ever seen in the semifinals. If you guys didn't catch that game, you should definitely go back and watch it, because that is some scary Tiny with the tree and Empower. But as it stands right now, Isilor going to be the first pick out of the second pick phase here for No Tide, and that's just an extremely strong pushing hero. But now that they have a Keeper of the Light, we could be looking at potentially an off-lane Undying, give Lone Druid the safe lane, and we could be looking at a mid as a last pick right now for No Tidehunter.
I'm thinking we're actually going to see an aggressive Trillium with the Undying Keeper of the Light Wisp going aggressive and then sending the Lone Druid to the safe lane. Shen is going to be picked up for Fnatic, and we know they like to run that Shen just overall being a really strong hero, and Rubik is going to be the last pickup for no Tidehunter, so feels like right now that Rubik's going to be the mid hero. They're going to run an aggressive Trillium with the Wisp, Keeper of the Light, Undying, just pushing towers, keep on using the wave, giving mana to the Undying so he can keep on spamming the decay, and then running the Lone Druid in the safe lane. But they can of course do it in many different ways right now. You really don't know what their lanes are going to be, but we'll have to see once we get into the game right now, and it's going to be interesting to see what Fnatic wants to pick up as their last hero. If they're going to run a support Sven, they want a range hero right now, but it looks like Sven is going to be the hard carry and Lina's going to be the support for him.
I really like Lina, especially in situations where you know that you're going to only have 2 heroes in the lane basically at the same time, because Chen's going to be dedicated to that jungle. You're going to have the Bounty Hunter in the off lane, and then you're going to have the Bat Rider going mid, potentially against a Rubik, could be against even a Lone Druid in some cases. We're going to have to find out what No Tidehunter wants to do. But again, this is game 1 between No Tidehunter and Fnatic for the grand finals here at the THOR Open. And as soon as everybody is going to be able to get a chance to form up their lanes and things like that. So we're seeing people take up their heroes, and we'll get into the game in just a second. And I have to turn off in-game music here really quickly. Alright, so we're going to get into the game in just a second. Everyone's picking up their hero. And I really want to see what they're going to do for lanes too, because Fnatic at this point, they have a lineup where it's pretty standard, but No Tidehunter is the one where you're really not sure what they're really going to be doing for the laning phase. And so far, we're going to go over the players so really quick for No Tidehunter. We're going to see Loda playing on Undying. Ake is going to be playing on Keeper of the Light. Leaves Envy here for Wisp. S4 going to be playing on Rubik. And then finally, Admiral Bulldog is going to be playing on that Lone Druid.
And for Fnatic, we got Fly picking up that Lina. Era is picking up the Sven, so we're going to see a hard carry Sven. No Tail, of course, playing that Shen. Trixie picking up the Bounty Hunter, and that leaves Honey playing that Bat Rider.
We're going to be seeing lanes take shape here in just a second, as Chen is actually heading towards top, so it looks like at the moment we could potentially be seeing an aggressive tri-lane here with a Sven and Alina. When you see those heroes, you typically expect it's going to be an aggressive tri-lane. You know, double stun, triple nuke, it's very, very standard stuff. And then having a Chen to add to that, if you get an early creep, then it's going to be a very, very powerful gank utility. You can get something like a Wildkin, force them back to the tower, start trying to apply early pressure. And I don't think that No Tidehunter was honestly going to be expecting that. In the meantime, they're actually invading right now their opposition's jungle. They're not going to find really anyone. The closest one's going to be Bat Rider, and he's sitting mid. And there are some issues being had with Skype, but everybody seems to be good to go. So the game's going to be unpaused here in just a second. But an aggressive tri-lane coming out of Fnatic, that's actually a little bit strange, because usually Enchantress would be the hero you would see in this role, but it's actually going to be a Chen.
Yeah, Shen's usually used for the defensive jungle instead, because you can't get that many creeps since you're limited to only 1 at level 1. But it's going to be interesting to see how the lanes shape out for No Tidehunter as well. It looks like Bulldog is actually moving up to that top lane, so he's probably going to run up against that aggressive tri-lane, having S4 in mid, and then we're going to see the aggressive tri-lane coming out for Loda, or for No Tidehunter with Loda on the Undying down in bottom. Probably going to be really aggressive, try and push down the tower quite fast.
Battle begins.
Looks like No Tidehunter sees that there could be a possibility of an aggressive tri-lane coming out from Fnatic, and I believe that they're going to be rotating straight away, which is definitely a great call. You don't want to leave Admiral Bulldog up there by himself, as you see him just deny the rune right there. And he's going to be using his bear probably to pull creeps to the tower, and Loda actually running in very aggressively here. No Stormhammer being spent though by Sven. Not going to try to get an early kill, and he actually gets triple stack of decays, so 12 extra strength for him right there with just 1 decay. Pretty good stuff, and it looks like Fnatic is just not willing to concede themselves going a tri-lane versus tri-lane. They're just going to go ahead and move themselves. So as No Tidehunter moves across the map back and forth, it seems like Fnatic's doing the same thing. So both teams trying to vie for better lanes right now.
And it looks like right now they're actually letting Loda go up top, and Loda's going to go up against a solo Bounty Hunter up in top instead, and they're going to run a tri-lane together with the Lone Druid to keep him safe. And he's going to be able to pull that lane and just try and keep the lane at the tower, and then having the supports from the Wisp and the Keeper of the Light.
This top lane is going to be a little bit strange. I don't think I've seen Undying versus Bounty Hunter too often. I think Trixie's going to be okay in the situation, although Decay can be a pretty powerful harassment tool. I honestly think that in most cases he would do quite a bit of damage, and Era's going to be gone in here a little bit. Tether between Envy and Ake, going to get a tether stun off. The Bear's trying to do some body blocking. There's the Illuminator taking quite a bit of damage, forced to use a Stormhammer. Here comes Fly from the back. Era barely making it to his tower. Could have been a first blood right there, and his Bear actually walks into tower range and dies. So Admiral Bulldog without a Bear for another 2 seconds, but he'll be able to respawn it shortly here and continue his farm. But now we have 2 heroes basically down here against a tri-lane of no Tidehunter, and without the Chen's help, they're going to be suffering quite a bit.
Yeah, and Shen right now having a Wild King can't really come and gank either. And if you look from the warding that no Tidehunter got right now, they're going to see if he comes around. Unless he stays in the middle of his own jungle, he's going to have a hard time coming over ganking. Right now he's having no luck at all with the creeps, so he's not going to be able to come over and gank too fast, and Ake is just going to start the Illuminate spam and start harassing them, while Bulldog is just going to try and free farm, and then when the Bear gets high enough level, probably just going to right click the Bear on Era and force him to not being able to farm that much.
What I really like about this lane at a no Tidehunter too is that as soon as the Lone Druid starts getting levels, you get that Bear up with Demolish once it gets a few more levels, and then you basically just push into the tower. Like you said, Illuminate spam is incredibly powerful early game, and you're just able to push them off the tower, especially when you have heroes like Keeper of the Light who just have infinite mana basically. You can just keep spamming as long as you want. Doesn't matter if you're using Wisp to harass or using Illuminate to push him back. It's just never-ending pressure right now, and Era is definitely suffering from it, as he's only at 5 and 5 CS right now, where the Lone Druid is sitting at 9 and 3.
Yeah, I really like how they did with the lanes no Tidehunter right now. The Undying is actually doing really well up top. He got 13 and 9 against the Bounty Hunter with 5 and 3. So he's really using that decay, spamming it on Trixie, making sure they can't be too close.
Admiral Bulldog being initiated out here bottom lane. The Light Strike Array and the Dragon Slate to follow it up. No tail from the side, but Era, the recipient of first blood here and the very first game of the Grand Finals here at THOR Open. So fnatic gets a kill on the board, and really nice reaction there. They noticed that no Tidehunter supports actually had left. Envy was in the river, and they just picked him off right away.
A great play from no Tidehunter over there.
Yeah, you can see here on the instant replay, Admiral Bulldog just completely caught out. Envy was nowhere to be found right there. Absolutely no help to be seen. So fnatic with the first kill on the board, that's going to kind of relieve some pressure. But I honestly feel like as long as no Tidehunter's tri-lane continues to sit here, that they're not going to be able to really freely farm. As long as they can capitalize on those small windows, though, they'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what they got to do. Like you said, they got to capitalize on Lone Druid before hitting level 6. It's still kind of squishy. He only got 550 HP, and having a double stun lane with a nuke from Lina as well is really going to help them kill off that Lone Druid before he gets level 6. And now he's down. He doesn't have his Bear, so he can't get close to the lane and keep harassing and getting his creep kills. So he's just forced to play really passive right now, and it's a good way to keep the Lone Druid down.
We really haven't talked too much about top lane, but looking at it right now, looks like Undying sitting at 21 and 12 in terms of CS, and Trixie's only at 9 and 4. So he is definitely struggling a lot more than I think he probably should be in this situation. Loda doing a very good job of being able to harass him back, but he's actually maxing Decay, so that's definitely why Trixie has been struggling. You get those Decay spams off, it is so much damage over time. The higher rank, the lower cooldown, the more damage it does, and obviously the longer the duration as well. We can see bottom, Admiral Bulldog being annoying here, pulling some creeps with his Bear, just to try to get himself a little bit more EXP, and it does allow heroes like Envy to make the transition top. And by the way, Envy, at 5 minutes into the game, is still only level 1.
Yeah, he hasn't really come close to the lane yet, and he's actually moving up top now, which I think is a good decision. It's going to help load out a bit, help him regen up, and might be able to get some levels, because Envy needs to get up to that level 6, so he's going to have the Wisp TP, making sure that there's one person on that team, or there's one person on no Tidehunter that can stay out of the fight and just farm, either being Admiral Bulldog on that Lone Druid, or being Loda on that Undying, just keeping him away from the fight and then TPing him with the Wisp and making sure that the team fight goes as they want to.
Well, basically, they're prioritizing their mid-game right now. They're saying to themselves, basically, we're going to let Loda get free farm, as we can see Envy and Ake harassing Trixie here quite a bit, forcing him even farther back. And Trixie has been suffering so much this game, as the courier is kind of just like wandering around aimlessly. So if he didn't know they had sentries, he definitely knows now. Courier just casually walks into the lane, delivers some to Envy, maybe looking to try to get a pick off But Undying, now level 6, actually got his ultimate at 6 too, which is honestly a little uncommon for most Undying players. You usually see one extra rank in a Soul Rip, maybe max a Tombstone or something like that before you get ultimate, but he's going to choose to get it. In the meantime, bottom fnatic pushing into this tier 1 as S4 is walking towards bottom as well with an illusion rune. He's also managed to steal sticky napalm, which is very, very annoying, especially for melee heroes. And fnatic is not going to be fooled by this illusion as they're going to go ahead and fall back. But as soon as they start pushing into this tower with things like Warcry from Era, I don't think it's going to be able to stand without some extra assistance.
Yeah, and one lane we haven't really talked about that much is actually the mid lane, where S4 has been playing against Honey on that Bat Rider. And S4 is really keeping up with the last hits. He's actually one last hit above, and they're even right now. Honey's a bit higher.
Oh,
and
S4 in some trouble mid. We're going to see a lasso expended and track. Trixie's made his way towards middle lane. S4 trying to bottle up between auto attacks, but I don't believe he's going to make it back. And that's another very, very important kill as Hani picks up the gold, so getting himself a little bit closer to that coveted Blink Dagger. But very nice movement there from Trixie. He knew that top lane wasn't going well for him, managed to collapse into middle and get himself a kill.
Yeah, great choice to start moving when he got that track up. But like I was saying, they've been keeping up quite well in mid. Now Honey up 1 kill, so he's going to get some extra golden experience from that. But overall, S4 has been doing a great job on that Rubik. Just being able to not let Honey stack up too many stacks of that sticky napalm and keeping away from being killed early on into the game. And right now, though, it's kind of a slow game still. Feels like people are really feeling each other to see what they want to do, and Bulldog actually moving into the jungle right now, realizing he can't really get anything down in bottom because they're protecting the creep wave from him being able to pull it. And you notice as well that if he actually pulls it...
Trixie going on Envy, the tether's there. Trixie manages to get the solo kill, but Loda, with max rank of decay, manages to pick him off. That was a track kill, and it was solo experience, so Trixie probably not going to be too upset with the exchange. But I don't know if giving a Loda a kill at this point is really the wisest choice, considering that he's already level 8. He's essentially been free farming. He actually has the highest CS on the map. I think that exchange might have actually been a little bit better for no Tidehunter.
Yeah, getting an Undying really tanky can be quite troublesome, because they're pretty much not going to be able to kill him, and if they can guard the Tombstone well enough, that's going to cause some trouble against fnatic.
As it stands right now, fnatic still has the kill lead, sitting at 3-1. Take a first look at the golden experience here. As we can see, fnatic has about 1,000 gold lead, not really too much to mention, and a little bit over 1,500 experience at this point in the game. But as things kind of stretch on, we're going to start seeing Wisp teleports. Not sure if it's going to be Undying. Could possibly be Lone Druid as well if you get lucky with Roots. But I think that in terms of mid-game team fights, it's going to be all down to coordination from both teams because of the fact that Undying max decay, you can actually stand in mid quite easily. Oh, speaking of mid, we're going to see S4 get lassoed once again. Teleport action coming in from Tidehunter, but unfortunately it's not going to be fast enough. Loda wants to chase, though. He does have max rank of decay. He's going for Hani right now. Can he actually get him? Hani bottling up, pops the urn after the second decay. Now track onto Loda. Are they going to actually go on this? He might be in some trouble. No more TPs coming in mid. Loda's all by himself, and Trixie manages to get the kill on Undying. So 2 heroes down. They give away a mid, and they give away their safe lane farming hero and get absolutely nothing for it as Era's now chasing up bottom lane onto Ake. Wants to get a Stormhammer, gets fogged. It is Knight. Ake does not have boots, though. I don't believe he's going to be able to get away from this. Era trying to cut him off from the side. And we're going to see Fly land a Light Strike Array. No help necessary. The Stormhammer and the Laguna Blade to finish right there. Era actually being the recipient of the kill. Now here comes Envy. S4 is tethered. He manages to steal Stormbolt. They want to try to go for Fly. Spirit's doing damage from the back. There's the Stormhammer. And that is going to be a very, very dead Fly. So Chen managed to send somebody back to base. But unfortunately, Fly is not going to make it home.
Yeah, very nice play from Fnatic so far. Really capitalizing on being in the aggressive position where no one's being bottom, and if they come bottom when they go aggressive, they can really easily die with that double stun. And Fnatic really playing well right now, getting kills where it's needed, and really just being annoying against no Tidehunter's heroes.
Oh, Stormhammer out of Trixie, and the Fade Bolt burst damage. One hit from the bear. And Trixie is sent back to base in a manner that he probably doesn't want to be sent back to base. So now 6-3 as no Tidehunter picks up their 3rd kill of this game. But the problem really lies in the fact that while getting pickoffs is great on heroes like Bounty Hunter, is whenever Fnatic gets a pickoff, they usually have Trixie there, and Track can make all the difference in the world in games like this.
Yeah, getting track kills is really important, especially when you're going up against a Syllabear and an Undying that has been free farming, because Undying can get so tanky. Hitting 1 or 2 good decays in a team fight can pretty much make him unkillable. But it's going to be interesting to see how this game just keeps on moving on, because Trixie's been really good though with moving around.
Low to bottom lane. There's a Stormhammer flies here as well. He does have Laguna Blade. Envy tethers, and the tether speed giving Loda enough movement speed to be able to get away from that Light Strike array. Laguna was up, so I'm pretty sure that would have been a kill had there been a decent follow. But as it stands right now, I mean, Fnatic is definitely ahead. Not by a large margin, but far enough ahead to the point where they can feel a little bit comfortable. Looks like we could see a possible engagement here on the Admiral Bulldog. Here comes Hani with an Invis rune. There's the lasso as well. Track up on Bulldog. Immediate TP reaction coming out of No Tidehunter. Is it going to be fast enough? It doesn't look like it, but Trixie gets rooted. Stormhammer to follow. S4 running in telekinesis onto Hani. It does end up stunning Trixie. There's a decay coming out from Loda to get the kill. Hani trying to fly off the map a little bit and manages to blink away. He did pick up his blink dagger a little bit before that exchange, but they managed to go 1 for 1, and Trixie, interestingly enough, buys back and doesn't even have his teleport off cooldown, so can't really make much from it.
Yeah, great pickoff again. And looks like they're going to try and go for this bottom tower. They might actually chase down Aki. No, they're just going to go for this tower instead. They got a Shen creep here as well. Should be an easy tower. They got 2 creeps here.
Oh no. Double damage picked up on Hani. There's a flame break trying to knock S4 back, but he dodges it. Very nicely done. Blink forward from Hani. Telekinesis not up to the high ground. Unfortunately, I don't believe S4 is going to be making it back to base. His team is unable to TP to help him at this point. They use too many to go top. There's 5 stacks of Sticky Napalm. Another flame break comes out. Wand is popped. There's a track coming out from Trixie. The Stormhammer stolen from Sven earlier. Not going to be enough to save him.
A great play from Fnatic. And right now, Fnatic's just playing so well. They're getting kills where it's needed. Trixie's actually been in a lot of the kills so far. He's been in 6 out of 8 kills, and that's quite a lot of track gold going their way. Are really keeping this lone duo down, but like I was saying before, they got to pick off on him in top, which is really important. Keeping away, going for that Radiance, which is going to be annoying for his supports. The good thing though with having the Shen on the team is that they're going to have the mechanism and they're going to have the Hand of God, which is going to help him survive quite a lot from that Radiance burn. And they only have really one squishy hero in the sense that Lina can be quite squishy, but other than that, people will survive that Radiance burn, and if they can keep Bulldog from getting it too early, it's going to be really good for them.
You can see Trixie here in the woods, spotting out Admiral Bulldog. Hani is nearby. He has that Blink Dagger finish. He's just farming in the lane at the moment. Probably trying to kill the creep wave or just go around, and he might blink up to the high ground here. Yep, he is going to go for it. Trixie going to be going in. There's a not a track to follow. Hani coming in from the back. There's one Sticky Napalm. 2 TPs coming in already from the Tidehunter. Can to get there to save him. I don't think they're going to be able to do so. Hani pulling in farther away from the tower. It's going to be a very, very dead lone druid. S4 chasing. Sentry drop by Envy, but unfortunately it's a little bit too late. And Trixie and Hani are both going to be able to get away scotch-free.
Yep, keep on keeping that Syllabear down and getting more and more track kills, which is going to help them out a lot. And at the same time, Era's down in the bottom lane, just free farming out up to 80 creep kills. He's got his armlet up already, and we can see 4 heroes actually from No Tidehunter moving into mid, as it looks like they want to try and get this tower down. No Tail on that Shen got a tornado creep though, no mana for it, so he can't use it, but he got the nukes from Sator, which is going to help, and I really don't see them getting this tower. And this feels kind of like a waste where they have Bulldog farming up top, which is good, but down in bottom, Era's just getting away for free, farming and pushing into the tier 2 tower.
And things looking a little bit, I wouldn't want to say bad for No Tidehunter, but they are struggling a bit in the early game. If they get together and they start trying to fight 4-on-4, 5-on-5, then you have Undying to fall back on. It's going to be really good. Oh, Envy getting caught out again by an Invis rune. Here comes Aaron from the side, and Envy just has nothing that he can possibly do to live through that situation. Hani with some really nice runes here in the middle as well. S4 being engaged on. They're very aggressively diving. Flame Break goes off. Actually manages it 2 in the back. There's Laguna Blade going on to S4, but he steals it, and Laguna's fly in the face just to force him back. The Test of Faith and a Shuriken from long distance will secure the kill for Trixie. Trixie trying to get out of tower range here. Pops the wand. Loda very low on mana. There's the Chakra. There's another decay. Earn after the fact. Stormhammer. They might try to turn this around. There's a follow-up Light Striker right. Tethered from Envy. Illuminate from the back, getting Trixie quite low. Decay actually misses though, unfortunately. Loda is tracked, but manages to soul rip himself up to a decent amount of health, and once again a courier. Very, very crazily flying into the action. But now another kill exchange right there, actually two, because they killed Envy with the Invis, and then they managed to kill S4 on that Rubik, and no answer coming out of No Tidehunter.
Yeah, like you said, No Tidehunter right now in the early game are a bit behind, but it's not over because of that. The problem that I see though is that where No Tidehunter usually don't really care about winning the lanes that much, they care more about having really good team fight. It's going to be really hard for them to fight while Hani is so farmed up right now. He got the Blink Dagger. He's getting closer to a 4-staff right now as well. So his Bat Ride is going to be really annoying, being able to lock down one target straight away in the team fight, just dragging him out, getting a track kill on that. And then they're going to be 4 versus 5. Not saying that Undying is weak in a team fight or anything like that. It's just that they're going to have a hard time in a team fight, not really having a hard carry except for the Lone Druid, who is still heavily underfarmed.
And Trixie's been able to recover very nicely too from fnatic. His start against Loda was not anywhere near what he wanted it to be. He managed to rotate middle, get a kill on S4 with the help of Hani, and he's been very active. He does have a couple of deaths on his hands. He ended up buying back, but most of the kills that fnatic has so far, the Bounty Hunter has been involved in, which is pretty much all you can ask for from a hero like that. And we are going to see rotation mid. Trixie going to be throwing off a track onto S4, who manages to steal Warcry in the process. But now fnatic looking to play a little bit aggressive here. They're going to be pushing into the tier 1. Glyph is still up. Tower's not quite in die range just yet, but I think they're just going to go ahead and sack this. They are going to Glyph, interestingly enough, and not defend it. So they're going to let it fall, and they Glyph too. And I mean, it's a little bit of a waste, but they might just assume that fnatic's not going to be pushing 2 towers back to back.
Yeah. The only thing the Fnatic is not doing right now is actually keeping touch of this Lone Druid. Admiral Bolog is actually up to 2,500 gold right now and is getting really close to a relic, which is going to help them out quite a bit. That Lone Druid is going to get a lot stronger. The Bear just being able to be in there with the Radiance Burn. But like I said before as well, the Hand of God though, and having a mechanism up on the Shen quite soon, he's about 150 gold away from that. It's going to help them a lot just being able to survive that Radiance Burn. So it's going to be interesting to see how much the effect of the Radiance is going to be actually.
Well, you still have things like Lina. Chen does take a pretty significant amount of damage from it as well. But the Bounty Hunter is going to have a BKB actually very, very soon inside the game. He's already got his overkill picked up, getting close to his Mithril Hammer. In the meantime, we're seeing No Tidehunter here push in to the tier 1 in the bottom lane. And I just don't really know what No Tidehunter's game plan is going to be before Bulldog gets his Radiance, because in a 4-on-5, obviously Fnatic's going to be able to win. They have pretty good team fight, but if you're looking at No Tidehunter, most of their damage is kind of over time. I mean, you have Decay Spam, you have Tombstone. All of those abilities take time to do damage, whereas Fnatic can just kill somebody instantly with Flaming Lasso, Laguna Blade, and a stun and follow-up from the Lina and the Sven. So with that being said, in terms of being able to pick people off, Fnatic definitely has an advantage.
Yeah, and that's going to help them a lot when they go into these heavy mid-game fightings. As it looks like they actually want to try and defend this bottom tower. We're going to see some TP-ins. The full lineup of No Tidehunter is here right now, and they're actually going to back out, which I feel is the right decision, because everybody from Fnatic is coming in right now. Trixie is getting some tracks up, and it's going to help them to catch up, but looks like they really don't want to go for it right now. And maybe they want to try and turn around, but it doesn't really look like it. And Admiral Bulldog now up to 3,100 gold, and like I said, getting closer and closer to that relic.
The thing that scares me the most right now for No Tidehunter is that as farmed as the Lone Druid is, Era has even more farm. I mean, really, what can you do against a Sven who has an Armlet and a BKB this early on? He might be making a Mask of Madness next. He might be going the route of an AC, which we saw Loda do in the semifinals. I mean, really all he needs is the extra attack speed, and he'll be able to do as much damage as he wants. Loda going to be spotted here in mid lane. Are they going to choose to go on him first, or are they just going to pick off Ake in the back? There's a Stormhammer. The rest of Fnatic is coming in from the back. The Sorok was there, but the Chen Shockwave actually gets the kill from the creep, and Trixie in the meantime gets a kill on Envy while Loda is being chased down. There's a Flaming Lasso. That's going to be 3-for-0 trade, 14-4 right now in favor of No Tidehunter. S4 does manage to steal track during that engagement, but this tier 2 is looking to be in quite a bit of trouble here for No Tidehunter.
Yeah, this is really becoming a problem for No Tidehunter.
Oh no, S4 might be in trouble as well. Hani does knock it back with the Flame Break. Unfortunately, he didn't opt to go for a Force Staff. He went for a Boots of Travel instead, just so he'd have that increased mobility. But they do have a Chen, so it's understandable you would want to be able to use Boots of Travel to those creeps.
That would be really good, as well as being sent back and then coming into the fight straight away. And I would actually like to see a Mascomatis up on Era in this game, because like you said, no, Tidehunter doesn't really have any burst. They have damage over time, and you don't really take that heavy damage back then on the Mascomatis with the extra damage taken when there's damage over time compared to burst damage. Since they have the lean on their own team, it could be really well for Era to go for that, getting the extra attack speed right now and just being able to dish out more damage. And this burst damage coming out from Fnatic is really becoming a problem for no Tidehunter, as you saw there, getting picked off and is giving more track kills to Fnatic.
Fnatic doing Roshan right now. I don't really think there's anything that no Tidehunter can do about this. If they try to engage inside the pit, there is a ton of AoE coming out from the side of Fnatic. You have Lina Light Strike Array, Batrider Fire, of course Cleave coming out from Sven, which is now max rank. We're going to see Hani go ahead and teleport out a little bit prematurely just to get the top and counter push. But that's going to be an Aegis for the Sven. He can easily buy a Mask of Madness right now if he really wants to go that route. If he wants to go the safer route and go a little bit more tanky, that's definitely a viable option as well. He could just pick up a Hyperstone just as easily as a Mask of Madness and get not quite the same amount of damage output, but it wouldn't make him susceptible to taking more damage. We also see Loda finishing up his pipe, so that's going to help a little bit, but the physical damage is going to start to be just as big of an issue as the magic damage has been for no Tidehunter.
Yeah, and AC would be really good to kill off the Scylla Bear for once. He is already up to 20 armor, so getting some minus armor and the attack speed as well would be really good for Era right now, but like we said, Mask of Madness wouldn't be a bad option either. It looks like they might want to go in on Loda here if they can get fast enough initiation.
They're definitely thinking about it. Trixie trying to track. Unfortunately, nighttime, it's very hard to get a track, especially when somebody's standing along a tree line. You just get fogged so often. Seeing Hani use his Boots of Travel to go to one of the Chen creeps right there. And I don't think that Fnatic wants to back off. I mean, they are really far ahead at this point in terms of golden experience. Yeah, 10,000 gold now in the last 6 or 7 minutes of this game. And they've managed to get over 10,000 experience lead as well. So Fnatic in a very dominant position in game number 1. Ake using his ultimate and channeling Illuminate right there to try to counter push. But this tower is going to be glyphed once again. So the glyph is going to be down when Fnatic gets to the base. And that's a little bit of a risk. If you use your glyph on a tower that you're not going to defend, it leaves the next one very susceptible to being pushed in. If Fnatic wants to rotate top, they can do that as well. The creep wave's actually already pushed almost past the original point that it would be when the game starts, so if they want to rotate there, they can do so just as easily.
Yeah, and Silver actually now finishing up his Radiance on the bear, so that's going to help him out a bit.
Loda going to get caught out, gets pulled back in, immediately dies. The track was already there. Loda does not have buyback. Admiral Bulldog going to get stunned on the backside. Loda's still down for another 40 seconds or so. The bear being focused as well. So Admiral Bulldog with only one bear this next team fight. That's going to be a bit of a problem. Stun stolen from S4, has the Stormhammer. Hani blinks into the base very aggressively. He has a track of his own applied to himself. S4 going to get stunned once again. God's Strength still activated, and Trixie gets a kill. Laguna Blade on Envy in the back. Going to see a teleport as S4 has bought back into the game. Fly and Arrow both very low. Fly not going to make it back. Looks like Light Strike Ray was stolen and manages to hit 3. And we're going to see 2 heroes down right now as Era gets his Aegis saved, gets sent to base by No Tail, and maybe a bit of an overextension right there coming out of No Tidehunter. It felt like that was a bit of a rush fight, even though they managed to pick off Loda first.
Yeah, that was a good fight though from Fnatic, even though, like you said, they lost 2 persons, or 2 people, but it was still, I feel, kind of a good fight as we can see it here in the instant replay going on right now. That first pickoff of Loda was really, really good. Not being able to have the Tombstone down or getting the ultimate out from the Undying really helps a lot.
S4 did a pretty good job right there. He managed to steal track in the very beginning of the team fight, but like you said, when you have an Undying die like that, and speaking of death, Admiral Bulldog once again being caught out in the woods here. He does get rooted in place. Hani continuing to chase him down, and I don't think he's going to be able to get away from this, unfortunately. He will be dying as Hani does now have his Force Staff completed. We have the gem up in his inventory, but that last team fight for Fnatic, I mean, they just felt like they wanted it so bad. You know, it's very, very simple to get into a finals game against a team you have a lot of respect for and try to just overdo it a bit, and that kind of feels like what Fnatic did to me there in bottom.
Yeah, and I feel like this game right now is really, really hard for No Tidehunter, being this far behind, not really having a dedicated carry. I mean, Silver or Lone Druid is of course a really good carry, but you can only do so much when you rely so heavily on the bear being the damage dealer, and when you have a Sven that just kills it off that fast. Having the crystal is up right now, going for a Daedalus, 2.7k gold up right now. It's going to push the top tower, should be able to get it quite easily. Glyph is not up, so that's going to be another tier 2 tower going Fnatic's way. And Fnatic got a dedicated hard carry with the Sven, but where no Titan that doesn't really have anyone. They're relying on Loda being able to survive in fights, but with the burst damage coming out right now from Fnatic, you just saw the last fight, how fast he went down.
The problem really does lie in just the sheer damage output of Fnatic. That's been the story of the whole game. No Tidehunter has a team where if you draw out the team fight, obviously they're going to come out ahead. They have Decay Spam, they have Illuminates, and they have kind of longer cooldown abilities that don't really do the damage as quickly as Fnatic is able to. And when you play against a team like that, you have to never get out of position. The initiation range of the Batrider being played by Hani is just so good that if you ever get spotted by any of them, then you're going to be taken out. And since they have the gem as well now, they can just revoke all the vision from no Tidehunter. They're not going to be able to get out on the map. They're going to be forced basically to farm inside their base where they are right now. You can see the entirety of no Tidehunter just sitting right by the ramp near their tier 3 in the top lane. And at that point, you just start to farm so much less effective than the other team that it's really difficult to come back.
And especially farming on a team where you know you most likely won't win the late game unless you push it for maybe 20-30 minutes more and let people tank up a lot more. But for that you need everybody to be able to farm, not just one person farming all the waves. So they're in a really tough spot right now, and it's going to be hard for them to come back. It's not an impossible game, it's just going to be very hard. And one thing we haven't really talked about either is you can actually look at the levels and you see Wisp being level 7 and the Keeper of the Light being level 8. That's 3 and 4 levels below the supports of Fnatic right now, and the Wisp haven't really had an impact where you see the Wisp teeping out, getting easy kills because of the lack of map control and the lack of farm on no Tidehunter side.
Well, as it stands right now, Fnatic have pretty much all the map control in the world. Their Sven does not have an Aegis anymore. It has faded, as the timer we can see is already over half done for Roshan to be respawning. But Daedalus on Sven, level 15, he's going to have level 3 God Strength pretty soon. And then things are going to start to get a little absurd, as Sven would say. But if you're no Tidehunter, really your only options are to try to get a pick off at this point. So you have to try to go for somebody, see if you can manage to kill the Batrider, maybe Era if you get extremely lucky, and then take a team fight off that. But the only way Fnatic has to play is basically just stick together at this point, and you're golden. As we're going to see Hani going once again, and Loda getting pulled out totally out of position, and 1 or 2 swings with God Strength more than enough to kill that. Admiral Bulldog does get a root with his bear on Era, but he gets Laguna Bladed tracked as well. Era goes in, pops the BKB, as for taking a ton of damage as well, and no Tidehunter just calls good game. 22-6. Triple kill for Era right at the end of the game, and it looks like game 2 is going to be on the way here shortly. But I gotta say, man, that game, it really felt like Fnatic just had it like from the get-go. We can see here in the instant replay, Loda just completely caught out of position. He definitely saw Hani there too. It was the middle of daytime. God Strength gets popped after Era gets into the team fight. Laguna Blade on a Bulldog, and there was just absolutely nothing they could do. You could see S4 really wanted to kill S4 right there, as Envy calls the GG. So very well done by Fnatic. They managed to take game 1 in pretty convincing fashion, and it looks like we're going to a game 2 with Fnatic a little bit happy with themselves.
Yeah, Fnatic played really well. And they capitalized on the bottom lane as soon as the supports left from Admiral Bulldog just to check the rune or anything like that. They just went on him straight away, got the first blood, got a bit of a lead there. Era kept on farming, forced them out of the lane, making sure that the supports got forced to roam by sending their own supports to other lanes and just being really annoying. And then Era could farm even more and just be really strong, and then Trixie roaming around with Hani, and Hani just getting so much farm on that Batrider. Blink, Force Staff, and Boots of Travel about 20-22 minutes into the game. It's just a lot of farm on the Batrider.
Yeah, I gotta say, that game, typically no Tidehunter never really feels like they're super far behind. Even in the semifinals against Pulse, they were losing their lanes, but you didn't really feel it as like, oh man, Pulse is totally just going to kind of steamroll this game and win. It's more of, okay, well, they got a little bit behind during the laning phase, but their team fight is so good that they'll end up winning. This is the first time in the entirety of the THOR Open that I've seen no Tidehunter just kind of get rolled over, you know what I mean? And obviously they haven't lost a game up until this point, but Fnatic actually impressed me pretty well this game.
Yeah, we were talking to No Thailand before, and they even said that they don't really care if they lose the lanes that much. They go more for team fights, but this game it didn't really feel like they had the team fight capabilities because they got so just out-farmed, and the burst was just too much for them to be able to do anything in the team fights.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Fnatic's play, and you heard it during the interview as well. Lotus said that they're one of the only teams that they felt could have beaten them in the entire tournament so far, so a lot of respect coming out of Loda and, of course, Envy as well. But that's going to be game one. We are going to get the second lobby hosted for you guys here in just a couple of minutes, but yep, looks like everybody's going to be joining the game, so it should be just a couple more minutes before we get into the second game.
Yep, it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen. Changing sides, of course, so No Titan's going to play on the Radiant side, and we're going to see. We didn't really see that, and we haven't really seen it at all this tournament. People pulling the small camp still, and we'll see. I know that No Titan loves just pulling different things and stacking and whatnot. They didn't actually do any of that this game because they didn't really have a carry that game that could really capitalize on getting the Ancient or killing off the Ancient. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do when they're switching side and if they have another tactic going.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are actually ready. It looks like no one's going to be taking a break or anything like that. So should be able to get the game started for just a second, or in just a second for you guys. And like you were saying, the small camp thing, that's actually pretty important because during DreamHack, that was super prevalent, you know. Everybody was pulling the small camp. Everybody was stacking nonstop Ancients, big camps, pretty much anything you could think of, and picking heroes with AoEs that could actually take it down. But things have kind of evolved since past that. And, you know, I really don't know if No Tidehunter is going to take that loss well, because that's a team who is very new. So you kind of have to expect some volatility with the players and stuff like that, but they do a lot of research. They sat behind Fnatic and watched them play already in this tournament, which, I mean, you can't really get much more research than that in terms of who you're playing against. And if you have that much respect for the team already, how do you recover from a loss like that?
Yeah, it's going to be... It's always tough just losing that hard as well, but we've seen other teams come back from it, so we're going to see if No Tidehunter actually can do it themselves. But it's going to be really interesting to see.
It looks like the second game has actually started between Fnatic and No Tidehunter, so let's keep in mind, one more game Fnatic has to win, basically, if they want to take home the grand prize of the THOR Open. And then, of course, we have No Tidehunter, who's going to have to win 2 in a row to take it back from Fnatic. But after a start like that, Fnatic's going to be feeling pretty confident, I think, going into this game.
Yeah, you usually see them getting on a hype and just being really happy that they win one game, and they can really keep that momentum going, most likely. So,
well, they already have started the ban pick phase here in the second game, as Fnatic is going to go ahead and ban out the Bounty Hunter. We have Batrider taken out here by No Tidehunters. So bans have already started, and I think that No Tidehunter learned their lesson in giving Hani the Batrider in game one.
Yeah, it looks like they don't want to go up against it, and Fnatic banning out the Bounty Hunter quite fast as well. Don't want to risk picking him as a first pick and then giving away two strong heroes for their other picks. So
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, we'll see if we're gonna see some crazy ban outs to leave open some heroes this game. Maybe see Magnus come through, or maybe see a TA Darkseer on one side, but right now, just standard bans.
Yeah, nothing really too surprising. And Bounty Hunter last game was pretty pivotal as well. Trixie, although he did die a couple of times, he managed to put himself in great positions. Partnered with Hani, I got to say, they were kind of the major two of game number one. They were always finding kills, tracking. They killed Admiral Bulldog, I think, what, 3 or 4 times, just finding him off solo somewhere and being able to kill him, keeping him from getting his Radiance that much faster. They kind of had their targets prioritized to a point where they knew that No Tidehunter was going to be playing 4-man essentially the entire game, try to get pickoffs or push down towers with their Undying because they gave him such a good start, and then wait for Admiral Bulldog to get some items and then come. But Fnatic really never gave him that opportunity. They were picking off Bulldog, they were taking good fights, bursting people down, and there was just no coming back from that.
Yeah, and they were keeping pressures on the towers as well. While we saw Bulldog just farming up in top, you could see that they were killing off the rest of No Tidehunter, just getting tower after tower, as well as getting some nice and needed hero kills. So even though Bulldog got the Radiance up not too slow, he actually had it around 20 minutes, which is good farmed up Radiance after dying about 2 or 3 times. It still didn't do that much because the rest of Fnatic was just so farmed. As we see Wisp being the last ban out from Tidehunter, and Magnus is going to be picked up straight away for Fnatic. It's going to be interesting to see what No Tidehunter wants to pick up then, because we usually see them wanting to get the Magnus if it goes through.
Well, typically when you see Magnus, the first things that come to mind are Sven most of the time. And then in some cases, we saw actually No Tidehunter pick up Tiny. And those heroes just synergize so well with Magnus because not only do they do significant amounts of damage on their own in terms of physical DPS, but with an Empower, things become a lot better because you already have the built-in Great Cleave from Sven. And then, of course, once you get Tiny with an Aghanims, you get the cleave from that as well. And Empower adds 50% cleave and bonus damage. And then things become a little bit silly. But No Tidehunter are going to be sticking to their guns. They're going to go ahead and take up Undying. Envy or Loda both play that hero depending on if it's going to be a support or if they want to put it in a farming role. We saw game number 1. No Tidehunter wanted to put it on Loda and make him farm a bit. Didn't work out for him, but we'll see what they do in game number 2. And they're going to take a Darkseer as well.
I really like the Darkseer pickup just because of the wall and the Magnus combo that you were speaking about. Either going for a Sven or a Tiny. Having the wall for that could be really good, just getting a good wall vacuum. Having the illusions or Sven kill his own team pretty much, if it's a Sven or if it's a Tiny kill his own team. The Darkseer can work out really well. He works really great in mid as well. We saw S4 play it early in the tournament, and with the way he played it as well, where he forced the lane up, he pushed his own creeps up to the opponent's towers already all the time, having the Iron Shells up there, just forcing him to tank a lot of Iron Shell damage, trying to last it under the tower, and at the same time went out to the small camp, stacked and pulled that to get the extra gold and experience going, and that ending up in having a really fast mech and just overall great farm on the Darkseer. As we see Sven and Lone Druid being picked up, which is not a big surprise for Fnatic. They love going for that double carry lineup, and we're most likely going to see Trix's Lone Druid then. So it's going to be really interesting to see. They need 2 supports now for the last, and No Tidehunter most likely going to ban out as many supports as they can.
Nature's Prophet going to be picked here by No Tidehunter. And when you have a Sven and a Lone Druid, those are typically going to be the heroes in the farming role. They might just put the Magnus mid, and that way you would probably be thinking aggressive tri-lane coming out from Fnatic with the Sven, add maybe Alina to that and another support, Trixie farming the safe lane like you had said, and just go from there. But if they do that, their lanes become slightly predictable. It's easy to say that that could be what they're doing, and if No Tidehunter realizes that, they could still change things up a bit. And they really do like their Nature's Prophet. I was talking to Envy earlier, I think you were there as well, when he said that even if you pick a strategy with global presence, it doesn't matter so much if you lose your lanes, because you're able to come back during the mid game. And of course, Nature's Prophet, he can be anywhere on the map, add to ganks. And since the Wisp is already banned out, they're not going to have quite the same strategy that they were running earlier today. But that usually says to me that there's going to be an aggressive tri-lane coming out from No Tidehunter as well, because it's so easy to put 3 heroes that are really good to get kills in one lane, and then be able to add +1 to that and your Nature's Prophet, potentially tower dive, or just teleport up there and apply more pressure to the tower by spawning treants and pushing it that way. So both teams running very different strategies, but both at the same end.
Yeah, like you said, with Nature's Prophet, having the global presence, and like you said as well, using it against Pulse earlier in the first semifinals. But like you mentioned as well, is that they used the Wisp and the Tiny then to be able to TP around a bit, and they had their Magnus. But with the Nature's Prophet being picked up, you kind of see at least 2 of the heroes, and who's going to play 2 of the heroes. Admiral Bulldog almost always picks up that Nature's Prophet, goes it either in the safe lane and then the long lane, and S4 most likely is going to take that Darkseer to mid lane, just being really annoying against this Sven with the Iron Shell play that he usually does, where he pushes up the lane and just forces him to last it under the tower with 1 or 2 Iron Shells up on the creeps. And that's going to give him, I'd give that advantage to Darkseer, unless Fnatic sends the Magnus somewhere else. But with the lanes they have right now, I don't really see that happening, just because you kind of want to have the Sven either an aggressive try or defensive try, and then the Lone Druid in the last solo.
Well, not only that, but Magnus is a hero who does need farm pretty badly. You want to get your Arcanes, you want to get your blink up at a relatively fast timing, so you can actually utilize reverse polarity. And as good of a mechanism as Skewer is for initiation, it's even better if you can blink in reverse polarity and then skewer them out of position. So I believe that we are still going to be seeing a Magnus mid, but we've gotten into the second ban phase, so we're going to see Void, Luna, and Rubik taken out here by fnatic. And so far for no Tidehunter, they've decided to ban Isilor and Nyx. So Nyx is a hero that fnatic has run this tournament a handful of times. No Tail usually plays it as support, and it does have its strengths. Obviously, being able to mana burn is an incredibly powerful tool. Having a line stun, being able to hit multiple targets like that, and then once he gets to level 6, you're basically forcing the other team to buy detection for a support hero, which is actually really potent, because if you think about it, that's 200 gold they have to spend to say, we don't want the Nyx to get the jump on us, and killing him is hard enough as is with things like Carapace that he just becomes a really, really big nuisance, so not wanting to have to deal with that. And it looks like their last ban out is going to be Enigma, and instead of taking their Enigma jungle, fnatic is going to go ahead and answer by picking a Chen.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised to see right now no Tidehunter maybe going for that Nyx against the Sven. Would be really good. It's just really annoying playing a melee carry when you go up against a lone druid, having that chance of being entangled, not being able to get into the team fights. But they're picking up a support instead before they pick up their hard carry, being Jakiro. So we're most likely going to see either an offensive or an aggressive, or offensive or defensive tri-lane with the Undying Jakiro and then a carry for the last. And Lina's going to be picked up once again by fnatic. And we're going to see that Sven, Lina, Shen lane again, most likely.
And we'll see if we have the musical lanes that we had in game number 1. Both teams kind of saw each other walking back and forth across the map, and they're like, nope, we don't want to lane against your tri-lane. We wanted to lane against a solo hero. And then things ended up that Undying was solo against Trixie in Dyer's safe lane, which is a little bit strange to see. But still one more pick coming out. Once again, guys, this is game 2 between fnatic and no Tidehunter for the grand finals of the Dota tournament here at the THOR Open. And of course, thank you guys for watching. But no Tidehunter still have one left. They have the Jakiro support. They have an Undying. They have a Darkseer and a Nature's Prophet. So I'm thinking maybe one more possible support if they want to put Loda on the Undying again. Or we could be seeing a hero who does get some farm himself.
Yep. And I actually think that no Tidehunter probably will run a defensive tri-lane in this situation. Even though they got really good aggressive chances, it feels like fnatic actually wants to run the aggressive tri-lane and go up against their own solo or no Tidehunter solo, because the way that no Tidehunter is picked right now, it looks so much like an aggressive tri-lane if they use the Undying Jakiro as supports and then going for a hard carry for Loda. But they could just send the bottom instead and have Loda free farm down there and start moving with the Undying and the Jakiro if they want to do that. But we have to see really what happens with the last pick to see if they have kill potential to go for an aggressive or if they go for more defensive farming lane.
And this is kind of a problem as well. And yep, there we go. We're going to see a gyrocopter pick here by no Tidehunter. So taking a page out of Pulse's book and the semifinals, we'll see if it works better for them than it did for... Or yeah, better for them than it did for Pulse in the semifinals. But I like that pick quite a bit, actually, because it's a ranged hero. It adds a decent amount of aggression to your lane. You have Missile Barrage, you have Homing Rocket as well, that lets you basically line up stuns, get your Ice Path in, do a pretty good amount of damage, and then you can follow it up after the fact and still manage to get some kills. Where if they picked any other hero, I feel like their lane would have been so weak offensively that the Sven, Lina, and the Chen tri-lane would have been able to just overpower them, like we've seen in the past, where you basically just have this spam that you can't overcome. So I do think the Gyrocopter is going to work quite well here.
Yeah, I really like the Gyro. Being a range hero and having Flat Cannon with 1000 range is going to be really good as well against the Lone Druid. Even if he gets entangled, he will be able most likely to just shoot at something being close and hitting everything around him in 1000 range. So it's going to be interesting to see how they lane it, but no surprise that Loda picking up that Gyrocopter as well. And we actually going to the bathroom, so we're going to have a pause for quite a while. And we'll see who's going to pick up what on the teams.
So far for fnatic, we have Era playing on the Sven, No Tail, no surprise, going to be playing on that Chen, and Fly going to be taking up the reins on Lina. So that leaves basically Trixie right now and Hani to pick their respective heroes.
And wouldn't be a big surprise to see Trixie picking up that Syllabear like he's been playing before, or Lone Druid, and Hani actually picks up the Magnus now, so Trixie just needs to pick up that Syllabear as the last one. And for no Tidehunter's side, we've got Loda picking up that Gyrocopter already, Admiral Bulldog playing the Nature's Prophet, Ake on the Jakiro, and that leaves S4 in the Total Envy to pick up the Undying and the Darkseer. And wouldn't be surprised to see S4 going for the Darkseer and the Total Envy, of course, going for that Undying that he likes to run in support role.
I kind of like this strategy that Fnatic has been adopting, especially during the finals, is typically, you know, they run a double carry type of strategy. They've kind of stuck to their guns, but they've kind of evolved it in a sense where their lanes still have kill potential. Sven is a hero who can get kills, especially with somebody like Alina. They're adding even more pressure by picking up the Chen, put it aggressive, put it in the safe lane. Either way, Sven can still push early towers because he has things like Warcry at his disposal. You can spam the wave down extremely fast and wait for your Chen to come support and be able to get something out of it, where some aggressive tri-lanes rely so heavily on getting kills that if you don't get them, you basically just suffer for it. But I kind of feel like Fnatic's tri-lane doesn't have that same kind of feeling. You just get in there, you get your kills, whether or not you do, it's okay, but you're still going to be able to push really fast.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see now how the lanes pan out and see where everybody wants to go. But they've actually swapped around a bit where Trixie's picked up the Magnus instead and Honey's on the Lone Druid. I don't know if they're just trolling around a bit or if they're actually going to run that way instead. But we'll have to see.
And the game is finally unpaused, so it looks like everybody is good to go. I kind of think that Fnatic is going to be aggressive tri-laning. You don't really pick Alina and a Sven without doing so. But nope, we're going to have another quick pause. Not sure what the deal is, but the game will be underway here in just a couple of minutes for you guys. And no Tidehunter obviously picking a very team-fight-oriented lineup once again. They have a Dirge, they have Gyrocopter, Darkseer, and Jakiro, 4 very, very powerful team-fighting heroes. And then they have, of course, Admiral Bulldog playing on his Nature's Prophet. And he actually did a really good job of farming previously during the semifinals. Even though his laning phase didn't start great, he still got his farm up. He managed to get mech and contribute even more. So that opens up the Darkseer to buy different things like Pipe if S4 wants to go that route. But he is going to be going mid in the Darkseer like we discussed before the game started. And against a Magnus, he did pretty well last time he played that matchup. Yep.
And hopefully we'll see his kind of play where he, like I said, pushes up the way to the tower. I don't know if he's actually the one developing it, but he's been using it quite well in this tournament. And then goes in, stacks the AC camp, and just pulls it as well to get the mech up. If he actually wants to go for the mech instead of Admiral Bulldog, Bulldog can instead go rush a sheep maybe if he wants that. But if he wants to go for that fast mech, he can get it up before him around in 12, 13 minutes if he can keep that stacking and pulling going. So, as we see right now, there are Fnatic's moving down with an aggressive try, like you said, with Lina, Sven, and Shen, of course. And no Tidehunter going with the defensive try lane at the moment. And I think that's going to be good for them.
Defensive tri lanes are always very, very difficult to deal with, especially when you have to deal with a Gyrocopter, an Undying, and a Jakiro. Jakiro being one of the better defensive supports with Ice Path, it's going to be able to stop the follow-up damage coming out from Fnatic. And since it doesn't have infinite mana like we've seen before in the past, where a team would pick something like a Sven, a Keeper of the Light, and Alina just to continue spamming over and over and over again, Fnatic can't really afford to do that, so they're going to have to pick and choose their opportunities, be able to get the kills very quickly when they can. And the problem really lies in the fact that Loda is probably the only target that they can actually go for, and we can see already that Fnatic has seen the defensive tri lane. They've decided to avoid it completely. They don't want to take the chance that they're not going to be able to win, so they are going to be rotating lanes completely, and it looks like so far the one to take the place is probably going to be Lone Druid. Or no, actually, Hani's going to be going
Hani
towards
got
bottom.
boots already, so he's going to go into the offlane instead, but I really don't know. It feels like Darkseer still got a bit of an upper hand with the way that S4 has been playing that mid against the Lone Druid. Even though Lone Druid being ranged, having the bear to harass, he's just still going to be able to force S4 out of the lane or force Trixie. Just being
S4 could be in trouble. Here comes Hani with the skewer, brings him all the way back to the other side of the river. There is no surge on S4. He einshells himself, trying to run back, but it's not going to matter. And Trixie picks up the first blood. What great sense to walk mid with those boots, catch S4 completely off guard. You know what's funny about that is Ake actually pinged about where this spot is right here and said, hey, Hani's coming over here. You might want to watch out. Unfortunately, S4 did not get level 2 in time and was unable to surge away.
I'm really surprised that he actually got first blood in that situation, because you can see they actually have a ward that covers that quite well, and it's just surprising. That must have been such a misplay from S4. He shouldn't really get caught out right there, but still really well played by Hani, coming mid, getting the first blood, helping Trixie get some advantage over S4. S4 being level 2, Trixie already level 3 from that. And that's going to help him so much more. And right now, though, it's going to be quite a passive game, having the Prophet just sitting up top, trying to pull the wave with his tree ends, and then trying to get farm under his tower. And the rest, I think, is just... looks like it's going to be quite a passive game.
Bulldog is definitely going to be suffering up here for sure. No doubt about that. Bottom lane, Hani still managed to get level 2. So in terms of off laners, Fnatic and No Tidehunter looking to be relatively even at this point. It's going to be down to what they can make happen in terms of push for Fnatic. The thing that's really great about their team is that their late game potential is amazing, but they still have a Lone Druid and a Chen for pushing. So because of the fact they put Trixie mid, he's obviously going to be getting solo EXP. He's going to get demolished that much faster, be able to make the transition into a pushing hero whenever he wants. If he wants to go for a Maelstrom or a Radiance, the choice is basically his. He's picked up a Glove of Haze, so he's obviously going to be going for that Midas as a first item. But S4, even if he farms, he's not going to be able to contribute really the same amount of pushing potential that Trixie would be able to.
Yeah, it's going to be really good for them. They can go really start up early, and they're actually trying to dive at
Bulldog getting dove right here. There's the Chen nuke as well from behind the tower. No Tail with a nice loop around right there. Fly going to be getting the kill on Nature's Prophet. So now they're going to be applying some pressure to this tower. Warcry is down for the moment. He might just actually go back to jungling, but he's left his Dark Troll Warlord here, and he's going to continue auto-attacking the wave. So maybe looking at a quick tower here for Fnatic in game 2.
And this is what I really like that Fnatic does, is if they go up against the solo and if they dodge the tri-lane, they just keep on putting heavy pressure on the towers with that Shen. They really love pushing with him, and I really like that playstyle from them, as they should be able to get this tier 1 tower quite easily.
Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Already taking quite a bit of damage as is, getting to about 20%. They've already used Glyph as well. So Glyph not going to be able to save this tower, unfortunately. He sends the Treants here. Well, trying to go for a deny, actually, but doesn't end up getting it. And Light Strike Array coming out from Fly just to be safe. And Era now level 4, sitting at 18 CS. He's actually tied right now with Gyrocopter. We can see the difference. This tower bottom is completely untouched, whereas Fnatic managed to get a tower already, and it's less than 4 minutes inside of the game. So Fnatic in game number 2 kind of still rolling on the momentum from game number 1, and I don't think No Tidehunter really is an answer for this early game pressure yet.
No, and they can't really put the pressure down in bottom either. They got a Jakiro to nuke the waves a bit, and they got Rocket Barrage and Flat Cannon, but Fnatic right now can TP down 2 heroes to bottom and just push out that wave quite fast. They can just TP down the Lina, having level 2 Dragon Slave, just pushing it down easily, or stopping their push. So they're just going to keep on going with a passive farming lane, hoping that Loda can get enough farm to be able to have a big impact into this game.
Ice Path going off here, hitting Era, so it looks like Jakiro has made his way towards top lane, but this is a level 2 Ice Path and level 1 Dual Breath Jakiro. He is not really going to be able to do too much in terms of stopping this push, but it looks like Bulldog has managed to pull the creep wave off of the tower, which does force Fnatic back for the moment. They did get 1 tower, did quite a bit of damage to the tier 2, and since it's not in deny range, they're not going to be able to lose any gold over it. But still, very well done by Bulldog, not letting him get the tier 2 by using the Treants to pull the creeps. Yeah,
great job not letting them push a secondary tower, which would have been really annoying for them. Giving up that much map control to this early into the game, being able to roam around with a Shen, Lina and Sven is just really devastating, especially when they have not the tankiest heroes. They're not squishy by any means, but they can still get nuked quite easily as Admiral Bulldog gets initiated up on top.
Yeah, Dragon Slave's going to be there. Fly going to land a Light Strike Array. 1 more auto attack coming out from Era is going to go ahead and pick up the kill. Fly actually getting quite low. That tower hit's not going to kill him, unfortunately, so Bulldog not going to be able to get something for nothing. And meanwhile, mid, we're going to see actually Lone Druid get picked off as Hani teleports a little bit late. So Ake made his way towards mid, helped S4 get a kill on the Lone Druid. So no Tidehunter now on the board, and Trixie ends up falling.
Yeah, great kill, getting it on the Lone Druid that we were talking about, just keeping him down a bit. Probably trying to rush a Midas on that Lone Druid. He only got 50 gold right now, so I'm guessing he already got that Midas up on the bear. Most likely, yes it is. And he got an Orb of Venom and boots as well, so his farm is looking really good now. We got 27 creep kills, while S4 got his 37, which most likely is because we've seen Eternal Envy pull the easy camp as well as the hard camp, just stacking it up a bit and making sure that S4 didn't fall too far behind in the farm when he was first blooded.
Of course, no Tidehunter is still going to be a little bit behind during the early game. You can see the gold advantage right now. It's about 2,000 in favor of Fnatic. Nothing really spectacular, and looking at about 1,000 experience lead actually for no Tidehunters. So even though the lanes have not been going that well for them, they're still managing to hold on. During the mid game, their team fight is still very, very powerful, but you always have to worry about somebody like Hani playing a Magnus and getting that reverse polarity up, being able to just turn team fights with one or two good abilities. And middle, we're going to see a teleport in coming out of Admiral Bulldog. They're going on Trixie right now. S4 is here as well, the dual breath and the vacuum back to ensure that it hits. Trixie not going to get any help from his team whatsoever and ends up falling for the second time this game. So while they might have been doing good in the early game, no Tidehunter answers back with 2 kills so far on this Lone Druid.
Yeah, good job by them getting 2 really needed kills on that Lone Druid who had a 5-minute Midas and now just keeping him down from getting that farm, and it's just really good job keeping down one of their heroes. The problem is going to lie in the Sven though, who's free farming, going for that armlet once again this game, and right now he's sitting up top. He got 101 in score, as well as having that Helm of Iron Will already up and Power Thread. So Era on this Sven is farming really well right now. They're committing 3 heroes up on top now, so if they can get a kill on Era, it would be really, really good for them.
A surge forward from S4. Ice Path is going to miss. There's the Warcry. Gets vacuumed back into it. Well done by S4. There's a dual breath as well. And here comes Admiral Bulldog, and that is some more of that global presence that we've been talking about. Sprout not even necessary, as Envy is the recipient of the kill right there on Era. So now they might be trying to push top. Actually, no, they're going to turn around and actually go back to their tier 1 that is currently being pressured by Fnatic. Here comes S4 once again, charging forward, soaring on cooldown. Unfortunately, not that much mana. But at the very least, they do stop Fnatic from continuing their push. And I was saying earlier that Fnatic has this team where if they're allowed to get towers, then no Tidehunter is going to be in kind of bad shape. But they do manage to push Fnatic back again, and they're getting pickoffs where they need them.
Yeah, and they're making room for Loda to farm as well. Loda up to 54 creep kills right now. He went for Midas as well, so his farm is going to look really good if they can keep heroes out of the bottom lane, trying to roam around, getting some kills all over the map, or in the other lanes, just keeping people away from bottom lane, keeping them away from Loda, making sure that he gets the farm that he needs. Since we know that Gyrocopter needs quite a lot of farm, his magic damage output is quite good, but he really needs some good items quite fast on, maybe Yasha, going for an MKB maybe, just to get that physical damage from the flat cannon out.
We'll see as time goes on what item choice he's going to make. And going Treads is actually very, very different than what Pulse usually does. He has a lot of attack speed, of course, from the Midas and the Treads, but usually Phase, Drum, and Manta, I think, is Waggad's usual build, so it's nice to see a bit of a change-up between the players that play each individual hero and how they like to build them, respectively. But 3-3 so far, a little under 10 minutes into this game. It's game number 2 between no Tidehunter and Fnatic. Things have kind of died down a bit. I wouldn't say this is the most action-packed game ever, but you can tell that both teams want this pretty badly. They're still playing relatively cautious. But if they let Loda keep farming like this, Sven is actually quite a bit behind in terms of overall goal at this point, especially with Loda having a Midas. The longer the game goes, the farther ahead he's going to be able to get. And I don't really feel the same presence from the Sven Lina that I did in game number 1. They're not going around picking people off extremely fast or anything like that. They're kind of just farming at this point, but Fly has recently hit 6, so that might be what they were waiting for.
Yeah, they've been falling back a bit. Fly actually pulling. Actually did a single pull right now, so they might be looking to try and push down the tier 2 tower. No-Tail coming over with a Satyr, and as well as 2 other creeps. A Wildkin as well, so they're gonna try and get a push going up on top and maybe go get that tier 2 tower down.
And tier 1 ends up dropping in favor of no Tidehunter, so Fnatic loses their tier 1 bottom. S4 immediately teleports to this top lane. This tower is still very low. Glyph is up. If Fnatic pushes into this, they have an opportunity to defend or even go for a deny if that's what they want to do. But Fnatic just has no interest whatsoever in pushing this tower. After they see the TP reaction, they immediately just fall back. And Admiral Bulldog trying to hold off Trixie here in the middle lane. So Fnatic smokes up. They want to try to find a pick, maybe look for the tier 1 mid. But since they teleported the tier 1 top, or tier 2, it's not really much of a trek to middle lane from either team, so no Titan's going to be able to get there to defend, and of course S4 denying the tier 2. So Fnatic, I mean, they were doing really well, and it seems like their momentum has been completely halted at this point.
Yeah, S4 denying the top tower like you said, and now moving over to mid, they're going to try and put some pressure. Actually 4 heroes now here from no Tidehunter, and they should be able to take a fight if they want to. They get the Prophet ultimate that can do quite a lot of damage if you throw it out on another lane. Darkseer being level 10, got 4 levels into Iron Shell as well as Vacuum, and sending Lina back right now and not really using any spells at all, so they're holding up a bit, and Bulldog actually fake TPing up the top, maybe trying to get Era to back off, but he's gonna stay there and keep on farming.
And Trixie doing what he can to try to recover here. He had a very, very good start. Unfortunately, it's kind of turned around on him. He's only got 1,200 gold right now and a Midas at 12 minutes, which seems pretty good, but in all honesty, he should be much closer to his Radiance than he is at this point. He has died twice, so no Tidehunter doing a very good job of keeping him down during the early game. And Envy has actually managed to get some farm himself. He has a kill. He hasn't died at all, which is really important because the support's not getting picked off in a tri-lane or anything like that is very, very good if you can manage to just stay out, get experience where you can, get the gold where you can, get arcanes at some point. Then Undying becomes much, much more of a threat during those team fights. But Fnatic looks like they're grouping up here towards mid once again. Might be looking to push into the tier 1. And we'll see if they can manage to take it. Hani has had reverse polarity for a while, by the way, as it seems like they're going to be stealing this Ancient stack away from no Tidehunter, and that's actually a pretty big deal. There are a lot of creeps here being taken by Era, so this Ancient stack getting taken away. Obviously, you have the Vision here being placed by either Envy or Fly. I don't know who had the wards. Looks like it was going to be Fly instead. Or not Envy, No Tail. I don't know why I said Envy, but of course, no Tidehunter not going to be any the wiser because they don't have any Vision at the moment, but Hani's going to be spotted out by a Treant.
Yeah, really good job by Fnatic there. We know that no Tidehunter likes really a lot to stack that, and with the build that Loda's going right now, it looks like he actually finished off his Helm of the Dominator, and with that build you can know that either he wants to stack, but since they got Envy stacking instead, he wants to use that to go into the Ancients, use the Flat Cannon to clear that out quite fast. But now when Fnatic stole it, he's going to lose quite a lot of farm from that, and it's not a wasted item to pick up the Helm of the Dominator. It's always good to have a lifesteal, but that could have been a Yasha instead if you wanted to, but since the camp got stolen, but since they didn't have any vision, he didn't know about it, so really good job by Fnatic to stealing away quite a lot of farm from Loda.
Smoke up here. Oh, nice vacuum up to the high ground. Oh, Fly is in so much trouble right now. Here comes the rest of no Tidehunter. Is he going to get any help, though? Ake actually getting stunned out and slaved as well from Fly. There's not actually any damage output right now. There's a dual breath coming off, but it's only level 1 as he decided to go for the 1-3-1 build, so 3 points into Ice Path. They are whittling him down little by little. Trixie's coming in to help, and Fly might actually be okay in the situation. There's a decay, pops the magic wand. Is this actually going to turn into a team fight? Still more no Tidehunter here than anyone else. It looks like Fly's going to try to TP out. Is he going to be able to get away? No, the vacuum even brings the bear up to the high ground now as well. So Trixie is going to be forced back. He has to get his bear off of that at some point. But there's a tombstone up here, so we can't actually return the bear. Is this bear really going to die to the tombstone? That is incredibly frustrating to deal with. Trixie just running around the tower. And that's actually his second bear too, so it's not going to end up dying. He'll be able to resummon in a second, but very cute plays coming out of S4.
Very sneaky play there, and really waiting with the second vacuum to make sure that when Fly tried to TP out, they just stopped it straight away. And now they're going to go for the tier 2 tower bottom. There is a tornado here, but they should be able to get that tower quite fast and then just back out as fast as possible. The mech is up on S4, and Hani's charging in right now. He wants to hit a polarity, but it's not going to happen. He actually went for a 3 points into Empower build with only 1 point into Skewer, and in polarity is Ake, and should be able to get a kill here.
And Ake getting follow-up Stormhammered, but no, it looks like Fnatic's going to turn around instead. Rocket continuing to follow Hani. Hand of God used by the Chen. He's going to be sent back to base as well, but of course no Tidehunter wasn't looking to pursue anyway. Not sure if the Hand of God was necessary, but better safe than sorry, I suppose, as no Tidehunter continues to get themselves back into this game. Take a look at the experience and the gold right now. Fnatic maintains a very small lead, as we can see it just taking a dip even closer back to 0. And the experience, probably about as close as you're going to get in a competitive game. So both teams looking to be in pretty decent positions so far. I just still have yet to really feel this Fen Lina really doing much of anything in this game.
Yeah, it feels like they went more for Sven just trying to farm up instead. Actually finished off the armor a few minutes ago, and like you said, they haven't really done anything with this combo yet. As we see, Bulldog was trying to TP somewhere but stopped it off. But I don't think I mentioned it, but Mech is being picked up, or has been picked up already by the Darks here, and that's gonna help them quite a lot. And like I said, Bulldog then is open to maybe try and rush a sheep for that Sven, since he went for Armlet straight away, or the sheep for the Magnus to stop him from being able to use polarity.
I think Hex is probably going to be the better option, especially when you know that Hani isn't really going to have a very fast blink, so he's going to be relying on Skewer to initiate. You can look at him right now. He's only got 160 gold. And if you know the Skewer is coming, you can just Hex him and be able to get it off before he can reverse polarity. Maybe look to focus him and kill him before anything really bad happens during these engagements. But the longer Fnatic farms, obviously Sven in the late game going to be very tough to deal with, especially for a lineup like no Tidehunter. The only real answer for it that they have with BKB active when he goes in is going to be the Gyro. And we've seen it in the past that Gyrocopter doesn't really do the amount of damage that you need him to take out a Sven in terms of physical damage output. So they're going to be relying on good initiation, maybe even Hex the Sven, if that's going to be the item choice of the Nature's Prophet. It's going to be down a lot to coordination for sure, since the game is so even at this point. I feel like Fnatic still wants to try to push a little bit more, maybe take the tier 1 mid, the tier 1 bottom, try to get some establishment of map control to allow Trixie and Sven to continue their farm, because if they don't, and no Tidehunter continues their own pressure and manages to get map control, they're going to be in a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the Gyrocopter could be a problem for Sven, but it really depends on what items he goes for. He needs some kind of a damage item, but he also needs a BKB to make sure that he doesn't get stunned from the Sven to be able to get initiated on him. Right now, since Hani actually picked up the blink already, so he actually had it up right now, which is kind of surprising.
Oh, it's on the courier, I guess.
Yeah, must have been.
Envy going to be chased down here for a moment, and it looks like the Tombstone is going to be killed, so Envy luckily being able to make it back towards his team. And it looks like they want to try to go on this. Hani is actually smoked up on the, or not smoked up, Invis up on the high ground. So looking for some kind of an engagement. This could be a really big deal too, because if they push in and no Tidehunter thinks they can defend, really nice positioning though. No Tidehunter is standing all the way on their side. Hani's coming from behind the tower. There's a nice vacuum ice path and the call down. 2 instant kills right there. Chen doesn't even get the heal off. Ake in a bit of trouble now. Hani comes in with the reverse polarity. Era going to be getting a double kill, and it looks like S4 is going to be getting another kill himself. So a 3-for-2 trade as Trixie will be able to teleport out, and Hani skewers away right into a haste rune. Might even look to turn around on Envy, but instead he's just going to go ahead and retreat. That vacuum called down ice path couldn't have timed that better. Instantly killed the supports. You can just see it right now on the instant replay. The wall was there. Hani comes in with the reverse polarity, manages to hit 2, and from there they do manage to get a handful of kills. Era picks up a double, but eventually dies for it, and then Trixie eventually TPs out. So very nice initiation coming out from no Tidehunter, but Fnatic didn't get out of there without getting something done of their own.
Yeah, great job with that. Killing off the Shen and the Lina that fast was really important. Having the Hand of God there in that fight could really have turned it around, because if Shen would have been alive, Sven most likely wouldn't have died there, and there could have been even more casualties on no Tidehunter's side. But being able to nuke him down that fast really helped them out, and even though Loda went down, so did Era, so both the carries for the teams went down, and it was a really good trade for no Tidehunter though, and really well coordinated with the spells and the ultis as well.
The one thing about that kind of coordination is if you can make it happen more than once, then it's superb, and your team fights are going to go pretty much flawlessly the entire game. But the fact of the matter is you can't always expect that to happen. I think that no Tidehunter, while their initiation isn't necessarily hard, I feel like Fnatic with a blink on Hani already is going to be a little bit easier to execute, especially if he manages to get another nice rune. And since he has a haste, he might even be able to just run in and reverse polarity or something like that. So having a haste on Magnus is always going to be a good thing. And the Experience in Gold update, we can see that no Tidehunter has actually pulled ahead in terms of overall gold after the last team fight. They have a lead of about 2,000, and the Experience is getting closer to 3,000. So it's 20 minutes in. No lead is really that big at this point for no Tidehunter, but being ahead, considering the laning phase and how it went for them, is definitely something they're going to be happy about. Yeah,
and right now we see Loda finishing off that mana style, which is going to be really good for him, and gonna help him a bit with the damage output, but feels like he really needs some high damage item right now, and either going for a crit or an MKB would be really good.
Oh, Envy gonna get stunned out here by the Stormhammer. There's a God Strength. 3-man reverse polarity coming out, and Era just cleaves down everyone. Darkseer, Jakiro, Undying, all just evaporate under the mass damage coming out from Era. Brilliant reverse polarity coming out of Hani, and all of a sudden, we were talking about no Tidehunter, and dear Lord, that turnaround. Free Roshan as well. I don't think you could have asked for a better engagement.
That was such great play by Fnatic, and really nice polarity there coming out from Hani. And right now it looks like Era's actually going for a heart. He got the Reaver picked up. If he's not going for a Satanic, which I highly doubt he would go with, since he got the Shen and the mech on his team, I don't see the Satanic being that useful. So going for a heart can be really, really good for that those big combos, as well as helping out with his ultimate and the damage overall.
I gotta say, if stuff like that happens more than once, they're gonna be in a bit of trouble. Looks like Trixie is barely gonna be able to TP out. I thought the rocket was gonna hit him, and actually stunned him in the base. So the travel time was definitely there, but unfortunately, no Tidehunter was unable to pick off the Lone Druid. And I was just like, that reverse polarity, being able to catch him on that little choke right above the ramp, it was so, so good. You can see Hani right here gets a reverse polarity. Air is there, and the massive amount of damage, Armlet and God Strength. There was just no chance those heroes were living through that. So Fnatic getting themselves back into the game in a very big way, and that's one of the risks you run when you give away heroes like Magnus and Sven, is that even if you start to pull ahead, the possibility for a turnaround is always there with reverse polarity.
Yeah, but one thing that no Tidehunter is doing to be able to kind of avoid that is, though, we see Admiral Bulldog picking up a Necrobook, and he actually got Necrobook level 2 right now. Is soon gonna have the Necrobook 3 finished up as well, and that is really good for them. He can both use it in the fights, and he can use it for counter push, since they know that they can't really take a straight up fight because of polarity. So having that Necrobook, being able to split push really heavily on that Nature's Prophet is going to help them out quite a lot, and forcing the team to split up, maybe being able to get a pick off or two, just giving more time for Loda to farm up and get even stronger, because he really needs to be in the back just trying to do damage to Fnatic when they get the polarity off.
And Era, like you were talking about earlier, did go heart, by the way. So he's got 2,500 health with the Armlet on. He can actually just leave it on. The heart regen completely counters the Armlet HP that you would otherwise lose. He actually has 3,000 health with it toggled, and he has an Aegis on top of that. So Fnatic with a very, very tanky Sven at this point. And all honesty, how are they going to kill him? I mean, the Gyrocopter does a pretty reasonable amount of damage. We saw earlier when the Lina and the Chen got instantly killed by that combo. Comparatively, they have 800 HP and 800 HP. They don't have 3,000, so I think they're going to need a little bit more in their arsenal to take out Era at this point.
Yeah, he's really going to be able to tank up quite a lot. That's going to be quite annoying. We really need to see some damage item coming up on Loda soon to be able to dish out the extra damage to be able to kill off Era right now. And just having that armlet as well is just so massive for him right now.
We also see Trixie picking up his Radiance, albeit it's a little bit late for a Radiance. He's got 1,700 extra gold saved up. It's only 24 minutes in, so his farm isn't horrible by any means. And Gyrocopter still leads the overall last hits. We'll go ahead and switch over to net worth now, just so people have a better idea of the farm on both teams. So Gyrocopter sitting at about 14,000 net worth. Sven and Lone Druid are both sitting at around 11,000. But at this point, I mean, Matt is finished on Loda. He had the treads, got the helm on the Dominator, 3,000 gold in addition to what he already has. And his next item, I'm thinking, is probably going to be something like a BKB, just so he can stand in fights. But even with a BKB, if he gets polarity, the Sven's just going to eat him alive.
Yeah, he really needs the BKB to be able to survive, but still he needs a damage item to be able to kill off that Sven. And just having his team in front of him, it's going to be a real problem, because if his team gets a 3 or 4-man polarity on them, they're going to be killed off really, really fast from this Sven. And Gyro can only do so much during the time while his team is just trying to tank up as much damage as possible. And going for a BKB would really not... It will help him survive a bit, but he's not going to be able to kill off anything. So I just want to see a Rapier, man. I want to see that Rapier, and that's going to really help him in the back end. But
all right, he's going to manage to get out of here. Very nice awareness by Fnatic, realizing since their smoke wore off that there was going to be a hero nearby. They do manage to get to tier 1. They're going to continue their push towards a tier 2. We'll check and see how long Aegis has. It's about a minute or so left on Era's Aegis, so if they're going to want to take a team fight, it's going to be relatively soon. Although Hani isn't here, he's actually sitting in mid farming. He has boots of travel, and he really likes those boots. He's actually bought them 2 games in a row. We'll be botting to the creep wave, so now it's going to be possibly a 5-on-5 engagement, and it looks like Fnatic's going to try to utilize their Aegis to the fullest extent.
Yep, I really like this decision from THOR not
Oh,
going
S4 wants to go in. There's a vacuum onto Era. He does have the Aegis, though. He is taking quite a bit of damage. There is the God Strength popped as well. And the first one to drop is actually going to be Hani, who goes inside of the fight, gets reverse polarity, but it doesn't really do much of anything. There's already 2 down on the side of Fnatic. Of course, Sven will be respawning. S4 standing right next to Era. He is so unbelievably tanky, and Eternal Envy is going to die right above the tier 2 tower. Laguna Blade goes off as well. S4 getting quite low. Looks like Era got sent back to base by No Tail. And overall, Undying dies, and that's about it on the side of no Tidehunter. We're going to see another Ice Path canceling Fly's TP. There's another vacuum hitting Trixie. S4 with the Shivas continuing to chase. It looks like S4 is solo right now, trying to search out, getting body blocked. He keeps running back, and Nature's Prophet ends up getting the kill on Lina, and we're going to see Trixie die as well. 3 heroes with essentially no health left on the side of no Tidehunter. They defend their tier 2, even with Era having an Aegis. I was not expecting the teamfight to go that well. It didn't really look like Hani was able to get a good reverse polarity at all right there. He kind of just died.
That was he got a good reverse polarity, keeping Ake and Loda out of the fight, as you can see. The problem was the Macropyre just doing so much damage. That was such a good Macropyre, forcing Era to go up and try and hit the gyro, just walking through, losing the Aegis because of that. Being forced to be able to back out, No Tail sending him back to the base to save him, but still just having Loda in the background there, doing damage, surviving that reverse polarity was really important for no Tidehunter, and just S4 being in front, tanking up everything and just doing so much damage.
It kind of raises the question, if Era had a BKB instead of a heart, how much better would that team fight have gone? Because you have to imagine the Ice Path wouldn't have hit him. He probably would have been able to kill S4 because he wouldn't have been disabled. He would have been taking no damage from magic whatsoever. And the only damage output he would have had to be concerned about was Gyrocopter's right clicks, and that's it. So did the heart hurt him more than anything else right there? Or do you think that the coordination from no Tidehunter was just a little bit too good?
It feels like the heart really, it didn't really help him there at all. Just since he died that fast in a Macropyre anyways, it was, I don't know, BKB could have been really good there, just being able to survive that damage. So we'll see if it's going to work out in the future, but in that fight at least, it didn't really help him out. As we see Loda actually picking up an Eagle Song, so he's going for the butterfly, and I actually like that decision a lot. Even though he needs a damage item, Eagle Song gives a good amount of damage, a good amount of attack speed as well, and a good amount of agility, which is going to give him even more armor. So, and he's going to get that dodge, of course, for the Sven. So even if he gets hit by a good polarity, he might actually survive it just from the butterfly evasion, which is going to be really good for them. So that pickup is actually really, really nice, and he might just want to skip out on the BKB in total, and because he knows that he's most likely going to get polarity every fight. Doesn't really matter who's going to be next to him, they just want to use it on him to lock him down. So having that butterfly to be able to survive that and just going for more damage items, I think is the right decision instead of going for a BKB.
He's still pretty tanky too. I mean, 1700 HP. He's put a lot of points in his stats. This is a pretty standard Gyrocopter build nowadays. You just get 1 point into your rocket barrage, 1 point into homing missile, and then you put the rest into flak cannon stats, get a little bit beefier, get some extra attack speed, damage, things like that. So pretty standard stuff coming out so far. He's doing a very good job of staying ahead of the carries of Fnatic, though. His net worth is sitting at about 18,000, where the next highest is only about 14.5, which is going to be Sven. And honestly, if I was in Sven's shoes right now after that last team fight, I would skip finishing my Daedalus and just make a BKB. Because no matter how much damage you can do, if you right-click somebody, it doesn't mean anything if you can't get in range. And that's pretty much what we saw during the last fight. S4 basically put himself out there as the only target to hit because he has such an insane amount of armor. I mean, he's got 32 armor right now, so the Sven hitting him is going to do significantly less damage than it would to anyone else, maybe aside from Loda, who actually has 31 and some evasions. So outside of that, you don't want Loda to be the first target anyway. I really like the way that no Tidehunter fought at their tier 2, managed to defend against the Aegis. And speaking of, Roshan's going to be up here in less than a minute, so probably going to be seeing the next team fight around there. I think Fnatic will feel pretty confident taking a team fight in such an enclosed space, but you can't take anything away from no Tidehunter's team fight at the Roche Pit either. They have Darkseer, Jakiro and Gyrocopter with Flat Cannon and Call Down.
Yeah, and the BKB choice would be really, really good for Era, as we see Bulldog picking up that ultimate orb. He's up to 2.9k gold right now, so he's going to finish his sheep really soon as well. So that's going to make sure that Era really can't hit in the fight. So a BKB would be the best choice for him right now, and then finish off the Daedalus after that. But from what we've seen before, he wants to finish off that damage item, and I think that can hurt him really. That can really hurt him a lot if he won't be able to be in the fights and just do the damage he needs to do.
Era's sitting on 3,200 gold, so if he doesn't buy a BKB, I would honestly be shocked. If the good burst polarity is there and Sven is able to get in, then the fight's over. We've already seen what happens when it actually does occur. Oh no, Fly going to get caught in the back. The Courier's in the fray as well. Are they going to kill it in time? The Flat Cannon actually kills the Courier. Admiral Bulldog manages to pick off a kill right now on Lina. Vacuum back onto Era. No BKB just yet. He gets forced out. Is he actually going to be dropping here? No, gets sent back to base by No Tail. Very, very nice job. Awesome timing right there by No Tidehunter, realizing that they're going to have to fight soon around Roshan. They smoke up around the side, and this timing attack basically that they've executed right now almost ensures that they'll be able to get Roshan. Hani looking to line up a reverse polarity. Loda attacking into the bear right there from the low ground. Not going to be doing too much damage. Era now desperately running back towards that Roshan pit. He does have buyout. Is No Tidehunter going to be able to take this? This is going to be such a huge win if No Tidehunter can actually take this Roshan away. It's already sitting at about 30%. Both teams really vying to get inside of the pit, get into better position, and No Tidehunter is actually falling back. They've already used the wall. Era's already back, going inside of the pit. He has the heart. He's going to be selling his magic wand right there to pick up the Aegis, and No Tidehunter is giving up their positional advantage right now. They're trying to get it back, and Ake is actually going to get rooted in place by Trixie's berries. He's going to end up dying to this. Sven kills Roshan in the meantime. Ake is already dead. It's a 4-on-5 right now, and Era is chasing out the bears. Almost dead. Nice Manta, but Loda gets immediately polaritied. They're trying to focus him down. He is so unbelievably tanky right now. Is he going to be able to get away in time? The Surge coming out from S4. He's making his way back. He's getting Radiance down by the bear. Is he going to make it back to base? One more tick, and he ends up dropping Envy, trying to run away right now from Era. Era's just going to turn around and attack the Tombstone. Another Aegis on this Sven. Envy unable to TP out. He's actually in sight, and that's going to be another kill. 4 heroes down from No Tidehunter. fnatic with a really nice turnaround. I got to say, man, No Tail with his Test of Faiths have been pretty much spot on this whole game.
Just amazing play coming up from fnatic, and it was the right decision from the start by No Tidehunter to start backing out, because the Sven was coming back. They never managed to kill him off. They didn't have the wall up, so it was a good decision, but then they got rooted, stayed, thought they could save him, and just everybody died. The only thing they went really there, or kind of their way, is that Bulldog just went out of the fight, tried to start split pushing. Problem was that the fight being over so fast, fnatic could TP back, defend their base, and really didn't have any problem at all being able to survive the split push from Admiral Bulldog. But overall, a really, really good fight for fnatic, and this Sven is starting to be really big right now. He's up to 6,000 gold, and we're going to see if he actually wants to get that BKB or if he wants to go for another big item.
If he gets a BKB, I get that feeling that No Tidehunter, they pretty much dumped everything into him. Gyrocopter was attacking him the entire time. They had the rocket barrage. They were doing everything they could to try to take him down, and No Tail still had time to test of faith and send him back to the base. So I think if he gets a BKB, he's pretty much going to be invulnerable. Like, how are they going to kill him? Especially when they have to deal with Trixie as well, who has almost as much health, and he's sitting on top of 29 armor to boot, so he's very, very tanky. You can see No Tidehunter's kind of sticking together right now, maybe looking to smoke up once again, as Aki has managed to pick one up. But if you're No Tidehunter, what do you do? I mean, you put so much effort into taking that Roshan away from fnatic, and it failed. So what do you fall back on now?
Yeah, the problem with that Roche fight was that, since you said, or like you said, the Sven didn't go down, and then they had the Magnus there as well, so Loda couldn't really go into the pit to try and actually kill off Roshan. So the damage from there, so they couldn't kill it off. And that was really troublesome for them, because if Loda would have went into the pit, they would have got at least a 2 or 3 man polarity on him. Maybe not kill him off straight away, and then the Sven would come in. But it feels like he probably could have went in anyways, risked getting polarities, because the Sven wasn't that close. There were no towers close to TP2. He had to run quite far, and they probably could have taken that fight properly if he actually just went into the pit and tried to kill off the Roshan and get the Aegis up on himself.
Well, No Tidehunter obviously in a bit of a harsh position at the moment. And Era has opted to finish his Daedalus. He didn't go for a BKB, so he's going for the pure damage build. Maybe he feels like if they focus so much on him and kill him once that they're not going to have any follow-up for the rest of his team. It's definitely a possibility. Going to see the Warcry popped. Potentially going to see a Siege right now. And honestly, Warcry, that bear has 43 armor. That is a lot of armor on a bear. Has a Basher done, has an Assault Cuirass. Bear's just pretty much clawing away at the tower. Has empowered, I mean, he hits for 200 damage. Bear is killing the tower pretty much single-handedly. They've already expended the glyph. So far in this game, Fnatic has been kind of back and forth with no Tidehunter. Probably the closest game of the entire tournament, I would say. Bulldog manages to pick off the tier 2 top in the meantime. But Fnatic is not done. They're going to keep pushing in. This tower is already at about 30% HP. The Bear's attacking it down, and the tower's going to go down with no denial attempt whatsoever coming out of no Tidehunter. They actually do spend a homing missile on it, though. Gets auto-attacked down by Fnatic, and this could potentially be one of the last fights of the game. We could very easily see Fnatic take everything right here.
Yeah, I like the decision though from Admiral Bulldog. Really trying to split push really hard. He's going to probably pop the Necro Book and see if he can push down Rax in top to make it even, but no, Tidehunter really got to fight soon here because they can't.
Oh, nice vacuum and Ice Path. Era taking quite a bit of damage from Loda. Tombstone already dropped by Envy to try to zone him out. The melee Rax ends up falling. No contention at all. Coming out of no Tidehunter, they feel like they simply can't engage, but Fnatic definitely can. One God Strength hit from Era and an immediate buyback from S4 after he gets skewered outside of the base. Range Rack's going to be falling here in just a second, or maybe not. Fnatic deciding to fall back. They immediately TP back to base to stop Bulldog's pushing top. And now this is no Tidehunter's time to fight. And look at the call down and the Shiva's damage coming out as Magnus and Lina die almost instantly. They're going to try to chase down No Tail. The Centaur gets Midas after using the stomp on Admiral Bulldog. I don't believe they'll be able to catch No Tail in this position, but they manage to capitalize, get a support kill, get the offlaner kill, but they lose a set of racks before they even try to put up a fight.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, they didn't even get anything out from S4. S4 bought back straight away. He got the wall out later on, and they got a kill on the Lina and the Magnus, but still, they gave up racks for that, and melee racks in bottom is going to be really annoying for them, just pushing in all the time. So next fight, they really got to try and push Fnatic away from this, and then have Bulldogs play push again and see if he can actually manage to get the racks next time. He did get the tower and got the racks down a bit, but it's not far enough. And right now, Fnatic is just going to go as 5 most likely, push out top lane and see if they can go for the top racks instead, really hurting Admiral Bulldog and really stopping him from being able to split push. He's going to have to split push mid instead, and that's not really what he wants to do since he already got the tower down in top.
That's a nice reaction right there from Fnatic. They've actually decided not to continue their push. They're just going to leave the Spirit Bear here in lane and just Radiance burn everything down. But Iron Shell does push slightly faster than the Bear will be able to. Fnatic obviously in a very good position. Take a peek at the gold. And you know what's funny is the gold is still so even. It's only about 1,000 in favor of Fnatic, and the experience is barely over 3,000 in their favor. It's just their composition, their team fight, and how well they execute it is pretty much making all the difference right now, which is all you can ask for in a finals game. Two teams that are so evenly matched that the only thing that matters is how they play. And Sven, of all the items in the game to pick up, has decided to go for a Blink Dagger. So they are just going full-on aggression. He wants to be right there with Hani when he blinks in for the reverse polarity to ensure that he's able to get those auto attacks off. Yeah,
the scary part now is, though, like we've talked about, not having the BKB could actually hurt him if they do a miss in initiation and actually somehow screw up the polarity and the follow-up from it. So it's a risky pickup to go for the blink. I do like it though, because you're going to be able to follow that Magnus in straight away and just being able to pretty much insta-kill the opponent's team, but it's still quite risky to pick it up and not go for that BKB to make sure that you will win the game from the BKB, because with the BKB he probably wouldn't die anymore in this game. Having a heart, having a crit, and then having the armlet as well, and a BKB on top of that would just be so much survivability.
Well, he does have 2,500 saved up, so if he wants to, he can get rid of the TP eventually and go for the BKB. So he's got a TP on him right now. Roshan's going to be respawning pretty soon, probably about 2.5 minutes or so left on that. Might be seeing another attempt to no Tidehunter to try to get a pick, go for the Roshan steal that they so desperately wanted last time, but just couldn't really execute because of the fact, like you said, they had Hani outside of the pit with a reverse polarity. And that ability in itself, I think if anything in game number 2, if no Tidehunter ends up losing this, that they're going to kick themselves for giving away this hero.
Yeah. One thing I do like, though, is that no Tidehunter are realizing that they really need some damage output right now. And looking over to Loda's inventory, he's actually picked up Crit and Sacred Relic. So he's most likely going for that Rapier and getting that damage out. And
he's going to the side shop right now, or the secret shop right now.
We're going to see most likely a Rapier in the finals game, which is going to be really nice to see. And there it is. So
oh, yeah.
Divine Rapier going up on Loda on the Gyrocopter, and that's going to be a lot of damage coming out from him. He got the crit up as well, so the damage output from Loda is going to be huge. The thing is, though, if they can get a good polarity with a good follow-up blink from Sven and some lucky crits, the Rapier is going to drop straight away. The good thing, though, on the other hand, is that Gyro got the Butterfly up, so his damage output is just going to be so massive right now.
And this is the timing no Tidehunter used last time. They're going to be smoking up right now, looking for a pick. With that added damage of the Divine Rapier, that could be all they need to take one team fight. You take a team fight at this point, Sven has money for buyback, but can he really pull his team back from the brink of defeat by himself? Lone Druid actually has buyback as well. To take a peek really fast, and Magnus seems like he will be able to. It looks like the smoke is going to be revealed. Envy actually getting bashed here a little bit. S4 going to be going in. Here comes Era, going to kill Admiral Bulldog instantaneously with the call down, and the Ice Path is there. Loda doing a ton of damage with his Rapier still at full HP. Buybacks all over the place. 3 back already. Lina, Sven, and Magnus already inside of the game. Loda with a triple kill, and Admiral Bulldog buys back everyone from both teams alive after that engagement. The amount of damage that Loda put out during that call down Ice Path, that was absolutely insane. Hani didn't even get his reverse polarity off. That's how fast he died.
Wow, just the damage coming out in that fight was so massive. Getting the Macropyre Ice Path on top, and then just having Loda with a flat cannon just bursting down everybody with that Rapier. That Rapier really paying off in that fight. The problem now is, though, Fnatic going for a fast Roshan, so next time Era's going to have an Aegis up again, and there's going to be a Shees up as well on the Lone Druid, so he's going to be able to survive, and they really have to take it easy now because Honey's, like you said, still got that polarity up.
No Tail vacuumed up to the high ground. There's the Shivas on the flat cannon from long distance. He hits the Centaur and kills No Tail because of his own creep. No Tail's down for 50 seconds. There is no buyback right now on this Chen. Era had the double damage. He has the Aegis up, but they have to be able to get to Loda. If they can't take him down during this team fight, there is a high possibility that no Tidehunter can counter-Rax here. It's a 4-on-5. This is the window that no Tidehunter was looking for. Even without an Aegis, they could potentially push in.
Yeah, and Wall is going to be up in 8 seconds as well. Looks like they're moving away right now. Don't want to risk it with the polarity being up, being initiated on, and as well Era having that Blink Dagger up. So smart decision, going up top, going to put pressure up top instead. And I don't really think that the Zen really has to be dead, but here we see the team fight again with Loda is doing some massive damage, getting a triple kill from that combo going out, and looks like they might want to go for a final stand up top and see if they can get a push in and counteract them up top.
And we will see. Loda, 3,000 gold saved up right now. He has buyback available if he does end up dropping, but at this point, if he ends up dying and somebody else on Fnatic gets the Rapier, then the game's going to be pretty much over. This is a last-ditch effort by no Tidehunter to basically say, if we lose this game, we're out of the tournament anyway. We're going to end up being second place, and then you have Fnatic, who's going to end up 2-0ing. But if they manage to counter-Rax here and take it to a game number 3, then buying the Rapier is worth it. So I love the fact that they decided to actually go with this. They're playing it super cautious, which I totally understand. Obviously, you don't want to run in gear reverse polarity because if it hits Gyro and then the Sven is able to blink in, the game is essentially over. So you got to play it very, very cautious if you're no Tidehunter right now.
Unless, of course, the Gyro can get some really lucky invasions going, then he's going to be able to turn it around with the Rapier damage, should be able to lifesteal up. He almost got a Satanic saved up right now, so if he can survive the polarity, having a Satanic after that, or just finishing up the Daedalus with the extra damage and the lifesteal coming out from that, could actually win them the game, as long as he gets some lucky procs with the evasion and just hope that Era doesn't actually crit him to death on someone else. So it's going to be really interesting to see. The last fight should be coming up not too far from now, because if they keep on going on like this, Loda's going to have quite a lot of farm and should be able to survive the fights quite well. So we actually see the Satanic recipe being bought up by Loda, so he's just needing that Reaver to be able to survive, and his HP is going to jump up quite a bit then, and having the evasion as well as the extra strength and that super lifesteal, if he can survive the initial burst in the polarity, is going to help him out quite a lot. And then having the rapier damage with the crit on top of that is just going to do so much damage. So Fnatic actually might be in some trouble now, even though they're so farmed. Just going for that rapier really is helping out No Titan right now and keeping them in the game.
The Satanic on the gyro is going to be, like you said, pretty much the perfect item choice. It's just going to be down to basically if he dies in the reverse polarity, because if he doesn't, the lifesteal coming out from somebody who hits for over 500 damage is going to be pretty insane. And he has a tremendous amount of attack speed. He's got Agi Treads, he's got Manta, he's got Butterflies, so you know he's going to be hitting fast. Again, the last team fight is going to be down to initiation. I think more rides on Hani than anyone else, honestly, Fnatic, because if he can manage to get that reverse polarity off, then things are going to be looking good. But the last team fight, I mean, he died mid-animation of his reverse polarity, and the rest of Fnatic just absolutely disintegrated because of it. Loda was able to just rain down chaos on their team. So Aegis still going to be up here on Era for about another 2.5 minutes. And I think they might try to push into the base, even knowing that Loda has a rapier at this point, as the chicken barely gets away from almost getting sniped right there. And if he lost to Satanic, that would have been a huge problem. But he's going to go ahead and build it in its entirety. He's got 2,400 health right now. He does not have buyback. So this is, like I was saying, last-ditch effort. They're just going all in on Loda being able to live through this.
The problem with Era not going for BKB could be shown in this fight, since it pretty much depends on who Hani hits in his polarity right now, like you said. But he really needs to hit S4, Bulldog, and Loda. If he doesn't hit those three heroes, someone is going to CC down the Sven. S4 is going to get his wall out, get Vacuum out. Bulldog got his sheep up, so he's going to be able to sheep Sven, preventing him from doing mass amount of damage in that reverse polarity. So it's up to Hani now, just hitting a really, really good polarity. The good thing though is that Trixie being really farmed, having his bear up, just pushing the tower is going to help him out quite a lot, just getting the racks down. So they're going to force No Tidehunter to go and initiate on them, while No Tidehunter just wants to be the counter-initiation and not get counter-initiated on with the polarity, getting the wrong heroes initiated on.
Well, tier 3 tower top does end up dying, and wow, they just killed that bear pretty much right away. Trixie does have another one at his disposal, as he does have Cheese. He actually almost died to his flat cannon right there, as he got in range of Loda and just felt the wrath of a gyrocopter with a rapier and pretty much a full inventory. The only thing else that he can buy right now is finishing his Daedalus, and I guess Boots of Travel if he really wants to go that route. But Fnatic going to be forced back. They do get a tower for nothing, so I think they're going to be pretty pleased with their results. But they have to try to make something happen. If they let Roshan respawn again, No Tidehunter is going to have no issue fighting around the Roshan pit. It gives an opportunity for the Gyro to stand basically wherever he wants, because 1,000 range covers almost the entire pit in itself. So if you fight in that situation, then you're giving an opportunity for him to be able to get the high ground and just pretty much completely take you out. So I don't know if it's such a good idea for Fnatic to procrastinate here. Maybe they just want to try to get one more item. Maybe they're going to let Era get his BKB, because of course the Aegis has now finally faded, and he has 4,200 gold. And yep, there it is, BKB, completely bought out by Era. So that might be what they were looking for to try to push in.
Yeah, that's going to help him out a lot. Then he can't be CC'd by the sheep, and the vacuum is not going to affect him. So that BKB finally picking it up 50 minutes into the game, but I was afraid that he might not actually go for it. But it's really good for him to pick it up. It's going to help them. It's going to help him getting in and maybe getting some hits off on Loda, and maybe even being able to kill him off before he can get that damage out from the reverse, from the flat cannon. So a good choice to pick that up.
And looks like No Tidehunter is going to be the one playing aggressively right now. And Fnatic's going to be on base defense duty. They pop the glyph so fast. Admiral Bulldog getting rooted in, manages to sprout the bear. Here comes Hani, actually gets ice pathed in. The rapier damage is so much, but he manages to skewer away. Loda continuing to chase the call down. Admiral Bulldog buys back, already back inside the base of Fnatic, and they manage to counter racks. They're going to lose their top racks, no contention at all. Hani getting caught by the ice path, unfortunately not able to do anything. Here comes Era, blinks in. He's going to get hacks before the BKB. The reverse polarity hits nothing. Hani completely misses his polarity. He got hit by the Radiance, or the Shivas, excuse me, coming out of S4. Blink forward from Hani. They're going for S4. Manages to force staff out. Looks like Era manages to get a kill on Jakiro as S4 dies as well. 2 heroes down on the side of no Tidehunter. Era going to be dropped now. I do not believe he has buyback. Only 600 gold. Lotus still alive. No one on fnatic can fight right now. And I don't know if no Tidehunter can actually push up. They do have Rapier. Of course, Loda does have a Satanic as well. Hani completely missed his reverse polarity. I think he got clipped by the Shivas right there. Maybe he just wasn't expecting the range. But that is the one thing that absolutely could not happen.
Wow, just wow, the fight right now. A few minutes ago, it looked like fnatic was in such a good lead, and they really had the fights going their way, but right now, no Tidehunter is just showing off how well they can play in team fights, and Hani missing that polarity, it can't happen again this game, because if he does it once again, I think they're going to lose the game from that, unless they can get a 3 pick-off maybe, and being able to survive with at least 3 heroes themselves, they should be able to defend. But if he misses that polarity again, that's going to be a lot of trouble for fnatic.
Yeah, that was... Whew. That team fight. I mean, if you're a no Tidehunter, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now because of what just happened. I mean, Era didn't have buyback. They had 3 heroes up. Maybe they didn't know that Era didn't have enough money to buy out right there. He bought the full BKB, but he got hexed before he even used it. I don't think he popped it at all. Yeah, he didn't. He just died. So 10-second BKB for the next engagement. Now, it's still pretty much anyone's game to take, but no Tidehunter all of a sudden has so much more breathing room. Daedalus completely finished now on Loda. He's got 1,000 gold. He's going to be getting closer to buyback as time goes on. And if you're fnatic now, you got to be a little bit scared.
Wow, 1,600 damage coming out from the crits of Loda, and having the flat cannon being able to crit 1,600 on every hero on fnatic's team by just hitting a creep or hitting the bear, it's gonna, oh wow, it's gonna do so much damage, and Hand of God is not gonna be able to heal that up. It's just a small heal compared to the damage Loda dishing out right now, and looks like no Tidehunter actually might just want to try and push up in top, or push up in mid. Bulldog TPing up the top to keep on pressuring. He actually TPs into the tree, so you gotta wait for his Nature's Call to be off cooldown or just TP out so you can get some treants out, and then keep on pushing the top, making sure that they don't get any pressure there. As Roshan is up right now, and looks like they actually want to contest it, and I think that's the best choice they have right now, especially with the flat cannon wall and vacuum.
Will Era get his BKB off on the team fight? Will Hani accidentally miss his reverse polarity again? Those are really important things to keep in mind here if you're fnatic. If the BKB isn't popped, the God Strength's not there, then you can get hexed out. You can get dropped immediately by just the sheer damage output of Gyrocopter at this point. And if he dies right now, he still doesn't have buyback. He needs a little bit more gold. Buyback's going to cost him 1,800, and most of his gold is unreliable anyway. And fnatic does have the high ground right now. They might be looking to try to initiate, but they can't go basically on anyone but Gyrocopter. They're going to have to wait for him, wait for Hani to get the reverse polarity, maybe use Trixie to bait it out a bit and force him into an engagement where they can possibly win. But we can see middle lane is completely split down the middle as fnatic is on the right-hand side and no Tidehunter is on the left. They really need to catch Loda out. That is the absolute highest priority target. Can't let him just get his damage off during a team fight. But S4, like you were saying, and Jakiro is very important as well. If the Ice Path and the Vacuum is there, then fnatic can get disabled. Even if it's not the Sven, there is a good chance that Loda will be able to live through the burst damage that fnatic has now.
Yeah, and I like this choice from no Tidehunter. Actually keep on pushing mid, forcing fnatic away, because if they leave no Tidehunter to push the base, they're just going to go straight for throne, and having an Aegis up is not going to really matter that much if they can just force it down. And it's really sneaky by Bulldog going in and trying to steal this Aegis, and oh wow, he can go down so fast right now and getting an Aegis up on either S4 or having it up even on the Jakiro would be really good at this situation.
Yeah, Roshan sitting at about a third health. Loda just walking around the pit being an absolute monster. Hits for over 600 damage. It is 55 minutes into this game. This is game number 2, guys, between no Tidehunter and fnatic here at the THOR Open. And no Tidehunter, seeming like they were going to lose 2 games in a row, managed to pull it back with a Gyrocopter Rapier and, of course, Flat Cannon being amazing as well with that hero. But Bulldog teleporting inside of the base looks like he's going to be trying to force fnatic to make a decision here whether they want to defend, give away the Roshan or not. The first one to go back is going to be Hani. He boots and travels back. Now they're trying to go for a pick. They do manage to hex the bear. No Tail sends somebody back, it looks like, and this bear is probably going to be dying. A missile's going in, but no, they're just going to go for Roshan instead. We'll see if Loda wants to drop an item for this Aegis. He might even drop his boots. Yeah, he just dropped his boots to pick up the Aegis.
Oh wow, great job by Bulldog there, pulling Hani back into the base, just forcing him to TP back to make sure that he doesn't drop the tier 1 or drop the tier 3 tower. Now Tidehunter is going to back out, or Bulldog is actually going to be the one TPing back to make sure that the range racks in bottom doesn't get pushed. And Loda right now is just so tanky, and he can just pretty much just stand in the fight, see if he can do as much damage as possible. If the Aegis goes down, he just pops everything after that. He got Satanic, he got Mana Style after that, and he'd just be so annoying. And he got an Invis right now as well, so they won't even be able to see him, so they can actually initiate on him, being able to almost force out a polarity, and then just Loda coming out, doing damage with that flat cannon. So we'll see what No Tidehunter wants to do. They're actually going top to make sure that the lane gets pushed in. They might actually just move in through top and go down to middle and see if they can make anything happen. Bulldog, of course, can TP up, keeping his treant down in bottom to make sure that the lane gets pushed out.
Now Loda walking forward very aggressively, or having the Aegis could be the scale they need to tip, basically, to take this game number 2. And I'll be honest, man, if they win this game, it's going to be pretty ridiculous. Halberd now picked up by Trixie. This is going to be the countermeasure, essentially, to saying, you know what, you can do as much damage as you want. You don't have a method of getting rid of Halberd other than manting it. And if you wait for the manta, then you run the risk of basically halberding the wrong illusion, but if you manage to get it off, it's 4 seconds, basically, of not being able to auto-attack, and that is all the time in the world at 57 minutes in when you're up against this Sven with essentially a full inventory at this point. But no, Tidehunter is still very aggressively positioned here inside of the base of fnatic. They're knocking basically at the door, and we're just watching as no Tidehunter pulls themselves back from what looked to be an assured defeat.
Yeah, and even though he got that halberd, he gotta choose, like, if they can't kill off Loda during the polarity, he's gotta choose. Does he want him to use the Satanic to regen up, or will he use the halberd then, get the Aegis, but what's gonna happen after the Aegis goes down? Loda's gonna be able to hit, he got his rapier still up, he's gonna have Satanic, he's gonna have Manta, so it's a really good pickup, but how much is it actually gonna do, and how much this is gonna help out? But right now it's just such a close game. Like, experience, it's pretty much even. I think most people are getting closer to level 25, so it's evened out the experience, and gold is actually a bit in favor of Tidehunter.
Flat cannon coming out there from Loda, just beating down Trixie. Trixie manages to deny the tier 3 in the middle lane, but in all honesty, I mean, no Tidehunter is playing this maybe a little bit too cautiously. They have such a high damage output carry at this point that as long as they don't let Loda get reverse polarity, even if he does, there's no refresher on Magnus right now. He went for an item build that says to me that they would have liked to have ended the game, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, maybe, give or take, because they just had that big of a lead they managed to rax in the bottom lane. But they weren't really able to capitalize on anything else, because ever since Loda got the rapier, no, Tidehunter has been the ones who were applying the majority of the pressure. But you kind of have to do something with this Aegis, because you still got maybe 3 minutes or so, and that's about it. Then you have to go back to no opportunity to respawn in the middle of a team fight, and you're not going to be able to fall back on having that respawn potential. So it's 19-18, almost 60 minutes in. Wouldn't have it either way, but Hani managed to get a skewer on Envy. They're going to be able to pick him off. Are they going to engage onto this vacuum? Managed to hit the bear, and oh no, Loda stuck inside of the base. There's a Heaven's Halberd. He mantas out of it. He's going to go and throw out the call down the flat cannon. His pop is going to be enough damage. He actually gets some once again. Here comes Hani with the reverse polarity. Hits S4 as well. Era comes in. They're going to be able to focus him down. 1,688 crit going out right there as Hani is, or excuse me, we're going to see Sven respawn, and on the backside, Ake is going to be dropping as well. Gems on the ground. They managed to kill Loda again, and the Rapier's on the ground. Admiral Bulldog not going to make it back either, and fnatic with the brilliant turnaround. They're pinging the Rapier. Era is now a Rapier Sven. I don't know what happened, but Loda just walked right into the base. Hani managed to skewer out Envy, pick him off right there. I thought that no Tidehunter would just back. Really obscure call right there from no Tidehunter.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about one thing that happened there, is that if you look at the items that Trixie got on his bear right now, he's got a Skull Basher and an MKB, so getting that initial stun out on Dota really helped out, and getting the skewer in on Eternal Envy also helped out quite a lot. But Loda just not being able to do the damage because he got killed off so fast first, and then he pops his Satanic after, and Era just keeps on getting crits and killed him off just insanely fast after that. So Fnatic playing it really well, and I really don't see how no Tidehunter can defend this right now. They need to be able to kill.
Oh no, Envy gets caught again. He pops the Ghost Scepter, but he's going to get Laguna Blade. It takes almost 1,000 damage from Fly's level 3 Laguna Blade. This tower is like 1 HP. There we go. Finally gets denied. And Fnatic looks to be in a fantastic position right now. Bulldog still 20 seconds left. He has no buyback at all. Envy has died 2 times in a row. He's got 300 gold. He can't buy back. This is Fnatic's time to push inside of the base. I would be absolutely shocked if they fall back here and don't just try to end the game.
Yeah, the only way I can see that no Tidehunter might be able to get this back is if they could actually go back and go for a base race. The problem is, though, as you said, Bulldog's still down, and No-Tail just keep on pushing out that top lane, so they're not going to be able to be in that base that fast. They need to push it in first, and the Gyro doesn't have BOTs. He went for another set of, or he picked up his old power threads again, and they won't really have anyone to follow it up, so they're actually going to go for Rax top right now, Fnatic, which is a good decision. It's going to stop the push coming out. And they might actually just back out here, as it looks like, because they know that they're so far ahead right now, having the Rapier as well.
Now, this is like the most intense game I think I've ever watched. We're watching right now the replay of Envy basically getting skewered into the base by Hani. The Ice Path comes out, doesn't hit anybody, but Loda was just so far out of position right now. Pops the Mantis straight away. He's going to get walked back up into the base as the call down comes down, and there's reverse polarity coming out from Hani. Era immediately blinks in, pops the God Strength, drops him the first time, and at that point, you basically can just say to yourself, well, I don't think we have any backup for him anymore. And basically, at that point, there really wasn't anything that no Tidehunter could do. All their supports were basically dead. Jakiro actually died outside of the base during that engagement as well. But 20 to 25, 62 minutes in, it looks like both teams still playing this a little bit passive, and I think Loda might actually just be farming his way towards another Rapier, because if you give away a Rapier, the only way to win is to buy another one.
Yeah, so I wouldn't, like you said, wouldn't be surprised to see Loda picking up another Rapier. Loda actually got his Demon Edge right now. Admiral Bulldog is getting to his MKB, and yeah, we're just waiting for Loda's second Rapier here. And they might just try and go for it then. And if he can get the second Rapier, drop his boots again, have a double Rapier, that would really help him out if they can kill off Era on that Sven. The problem is he's so tanky right now and does so much damage. He's at 3.5k gold. He's dropped his armlet for that Rapier, or 3.5k HP and 7,000 gold, so he'll be able to buy back as well. But one of the things that I want to point out in that fight as well was that S4 used his vacuum so fast trying to save Eternal Envy, but it didn't really do anything, just pull them together a bit, and then he dropped his wall after, instead of dropping the wall and then trying to use vacuum to get the maximum effect out, because the wall just hit about two people, so the wall didn't really help out, and the vacuum kind of got wasted when he used it to try and save Envy that was already dead. So I think that was a bit of a mistake from S4 to use the vacuum that fast, but they're still in the game, and it's going to be so tough for them to come back now that they gave the Rapier to Fnatic. But I really like Fnatic's decision to just play it really passive, play it safe, make sure they don't die in stupid places, because they know the pushing power coming out from Admiral Bulldog with the Treants as well as the Necrobook 3. And then Loda being able to get the Rapier back if they're up a few heroes already.
And Roshan's going to be up here very, very soon. Looking at about a minute or so left. We can already see that Fnatic has made their way towards the pit, trying to get some kind of positional advantage. 7,400 gold in this Sven, man. Like, this Sven is unbelievably farmed at this point. And because of the Rapier, of course, the net worth is a little bit skewed. He was actually pretty far behind. And a double damage, of course, because you need a double damage when you already have a Rapier on Sven. That just makes sense. That's how the game has to be played. So Roshan's probably going to be respawning by about the time the double damage is going to be fading either way. And no Tidehunter is in his position where if they don't kill this Roshan and take it away from Fnatic, they are in some serious trouble, like beyond serious trouble. Trixie has an Abyssal Blade now, and a basher on the bear. So we're talking about 2 bashers, and this is getting to the point where the net worth for the lone druid is going to start surpassing everyone else, because not only does he almost have a full inventory, but his bear almost has a full inventory.
And Loda actually finishing up his second rapier right now. So another rapier up on Loda, and this game is just turning out to be so good. And it's really, really nice to see this 65-minute game right now. They're still playing really passive. 1 racks for each team. Towers down in mid on both sides. Top tower is down for fnatic, so they're in the lead over there. As you said, the Syllabear soon has full items on both his bear and himself. So he's just doing so much damage. It looks like no Tidehunter might want to try and get initiation on.
Oh no, Trixie's all by himself. No one actually goes on him, though. It looks like S4 really wanted to try to vacuum and Hex right there, but decided not to. And no, Tidehunter's a little bit split right now. They still have a couple of people sitting in the far back. fnatic might try to take advantage of this. Loda on the low ground does get netted in. Reverse polarity coming out of Hani. He's going to skewer him back into Era, and a crit instantly kills 3 heroes from no Tidehunter. Loda dies before he gets to do anything. 3,000 damage. And Admiral Bulldog dies as well, and no Tidehunter calls the good game. Dear Lord, the amount of damage that just came out of that Sven. That could not have been any better for fnatic. Look at this replay. Skewer back from Hani. God Strength pop. 1 swing ends the game. 1 swing.
That rapier doing a lot of damage. It was the right decision from Loda picking up that rapier. But once they lost that fight in mid, just the damage coming out from air is just too much, as you saw in that fight.
I don't know what to say. It's actually going to be shown again just because of how insane it was. 1 hit. What was that? 3,000 and some change, basically. Unbelievable coordination coming out right there. Hani, as bad as the reverse polarity was in middle lane where he missed it, that one completely makes up for it. The heroes just 1 hit. 1 hit. Thank you, production crew, for showing how amazing that actually was. But
wow.
That means that fnatic takes the grand finals here at the THOR Open for Dota 2. 2-0 over no Tidehunter.
What a great finals, though. Even though we had a 2-0 finals and we never saw a full best of 3, that finals couldn't. That second game couldn't have been any better. I mean, of course, if no Tidehunter would have won, it would have been so epic. But 2 rapiers in a single game and Sven just one-shotting a whole team, like, you can't really top that for a finals game.
Yeah, I gotta say, in terms of finals, that was pretty absurd, to be totally honest. I mean, you go into the finals, no Tidehunter looked really, really strong throughout the group stages, throughout the semifinals. fnatic kind of had that same feeling. Both teams were undefeated in the tournament up until this point. Then you get into a game where game number 1, fnatic more or less rolled over no Tidehunter. It wasn't really that close of a game. I think they GG'd out at about, what, like 25-ish minutes or so? Something like that. And then in game number 2, you had like this back and forth where you really had the tension of a finals game. And it's like, okay, either team could really take this at any point. But then Sven 3,000 damage crit and the game's over. I mean, the rapier was bought by Loda before that, and no Tidehunter just felt almost unstoppable. They had this feeling of you can't engage into us ever, or we're just going to kill you. And then that disastrous reverse polarity mid by Hani where he didn't hit anybody, and you're like, no Tidehunter's going to take this to a game 3.
Yeah, I actually thought they would try and push the mid there, because they must have seen the polarity being used. Even though they were 2 heroes down and they were 3 against 4, I still think they probably could have been able to push up into the base there. But then just one thing we didn't say as well, when Loda dropped his first rapier, was that Era actually killed off Ake being on the side there on the Jakiro. He got killed off by the cleave that he was just hitting on Loda. So getting him out of the fight and then giving Era the first rapier. But what a good game that was overall.
Yeah, so I mean, that best of 3, I mean, was probably one of the more entertaining games, especially during during the last game. Yes, we're having a quick announcement here.
Just saying we're closing, pretty much.
Yeah, where we're actually casting from. But in terms of entertainment at a finals game, like you were saying earlier, I don't really think it could have gotten much better. But it looks like we're going to have an interview here in a couple of seconds with one of the winners coming from fnatic, and I believe it's going to be Trixie, and it's going to be done by our very, very own James Too Good Harding. So we'll go ahead and toss it over to them.